How many views you get on an average video you're first posting?
Oh, 800, 400.
Does it even reach your ideal demographic you may want to sell to?
It does not.
How do you take that as feedback then?
There you go. No, I completely
You
agree.
feel like I give a fuck about you? Yeah, and it's okay to say no if you disagree.
Why have them take a picture of you with your car instead of use that same 5 minutes and talk about a new strategy that you used on a client and post that?
Just to be clear, in that same example, it's like, am I gonna go get in my car anyway? Can I take an extra 2 minutes to have somebody just snap a quick flick?
Yeah, fair enough also.
I hope somebody else jumps so I'm not the only pussy. All right, welcome to the video. Appreciate you guys being here. In this one today, we're doing the rich person version of the video that I most recently failed to do. If you didn't catch up on that, I did 1 course seller versus 10 skeptics. And I said loud and clear, the biggest problem with it was it attracted scaled poor people attention, which is not my ideal demographic. So I sat down with 10 business owners here today, doing 1 business coach versus 10 business owners. Pretty simple format. Anybody who disagrees with me on something, or maybe they have something from me that they want to have expanded on, or just something they want to talk about in general, they'll come sit across from me here. We'll go through it all. If they're getting a little boring, somebody can kick them out of the chair. And we'll just kind of see how this goes here today. Hopefully you as a viewer can learn something from us, both me and the person sitting across from me here today. Big shout out for everybody in the room coming here with us today. We'll make sure we tag all these folks. You can give them a follow too. Hope you enjoyed today's video. Again, my name's Jeremy Haynes. All we talk about on this channel is cracking $1 million months, but today's video may be a little different. We'll see how it plays out. Okay, who wants to disagree with me first? All right, what do you got for the people?
All right, so I don't even know if you disagree with this, but I just believe in nailing organic before going into paid.
Yeah,
So
completely disagree with that, as a matter of fact. You
Let's
want to
do it.
elaborate on your point?
I just meant that for most people, if they can't find success with organic, they're going to struggle with paid. Because so often, organic is like having training wheels on. And once you kind of master that, then you could kind of have the money and the ability to scale with paid in terms of your systems, your processes, and all that stuff.
I'm gonna ask you 2 simple questions first. Number 1, how fast do you like to make money?
See, that's a great question. If it's not a first-time business owner, I would say that the paid is the better approach there because, like you were saying, go so much faster. But with first-time business owner, they're just going to be throwing money away unless they know what they're doing, which...
First-time business owner probably doesn't know what the fuck they're doing in either scenario though, right?
Yeah, I agree with that.
And it's gonna go a lot slower organic. You ever grown, here's the second question. You ever grown an organic page from 0?
I have.
How long does that take?
Like 8 months.
How many views you get on an average video you're first posting?
Oh, 800, 400.
Does it even reach your ideal demographic you may want to sell to?
It does not.
How do you take that as feedback then?
There you go. No, I completely agree. I just think that for so many business owners who don't have the knowledge of paid, they just end up throwing money away for a long time before figuring out what becomes successful for them.
You ever watch any of the content on my channel?
Oh, many, many times.
So all the content that I put out specifically about paid advertising, do you view it as in-depth and helpful?
Very much so.
Do you think because that's free that somebody who has no idea what the fuck they're doing from a paid advertising perspective can learn from both people like me for free on YouTube? How many other people you think on YouTube
Absolutely.
make videos about paid ads?
I just think there's so many people that haven't proven their offer yet,
Yeah.
in the sense that they have a shitty offer and they don't even realize it.
Yeah, but how do you prove your offer? What's the fastest way to prove your offer in your 2 scenarios you've laid out?
Paid, 100%.
So it's like, so over 8 months, you're essentially saying that's the better path to grow up organic page to get to the point where you prove an offer concept, or I can realistically spend maybe a couple $100 targeting an actual ideal demo via paid ads and find out much quicker with realistically a lot fewer dollars too, because organic's not free, is it? Does making content cost $0?
No.
It's like even
No,
if you
it's
just
no cost.
use time and effort, there's still a cost to your actual time that most people just don't quantify. You're pretty fucked in that scenario if you took 8 months and the dollars in comparison to just front loading a couple $100 to figure out that same logic, yeah?
Yeah, no doubt. So if you're a first-time business owner, let's say you're somebody who is just entering into the game, you're using most of your money on getting your product, getting your inventory, or whatever it may be, and then you're trying to get into paid and you don't have the experience in paid, to me, it would be better off to spend your time on organic, just in the sense that you might end up screwing yourself and running out of money before finding success.
Might sound a little off track. Are you familiar with how sea turtles are born and what they do as soon as they're born?
They have a lot of babies, right?
So sea turtles, I actually had this little beach house during COVID in this little city called Ponce Inlet, and they would mark off a little square on the beach. And you'd go outside and I'd be like, the fuck is this? And apparently there were little baby turtle eggs underneath that part of the sand, right? And it was the fucking wildest thing ever if you were lucky enough to see it happen. It's like a fucking war for these little turtles. As soon as they come out of those eggs, their goal is very simple. Go from wherever they were born on the beach straight into the ocean. That little area in that part of the city, like this little Ponce Inlet area, one city over was the shark capital of the eastern United States. It's like a baby shark nursery out there in the wild. In addition to every other fucking sea animal that exists, birds come down and fucking eat the shit out of these little turtles, right? Business owners that are brand new to the game are like little sea turtles. They have the highest probability of death trying to achieve their initial goal, which is making a bit of money, right? I don't think in any scenario there's a higher probability or a lower probability that they're gonna do something better or for worse. They're fucked either way in terms of the statistical probabilities to actually have a desirable outcome play into their favor. So to your point, I don't think it even necessarily has to do with paid versus organic. I think it has to do with like the traits of that individual, their endurance, and a little bit of financial backing as well. But their stats are fucked against them either way as soon as they start. That makes sense?
That's fair. I completely agree with that perspective. That kind of changes my mindset because I was thinking of things through the lens of success versus failure, not through the success of most people failing anyway.
Think about this too. It's like, I've been going through a weight loss journey recently. I was tired of being fat Jeremy. Now I'm gonna be fit Jeremy, right? I'm down 31 pounds of body fat. I'm up about 8 pounds of muscle. No drugs yet. I'm about to start taking Retta though, to be fair, okay? So I may progress sooner than later. Here's my point, okay? Do I technically fail at any point as long as I continue?
It's a good perspective right
No, it's like I'm technically failing just because I'm fat, right? But it's like I'm only failing if I actually quit in that example. So same kind of logic. If I just had the endurance, which is that trait I mentioned, to just continue on, I'm not really failing. I'm just increasing my probability by the day that I'm acquiring data, I'm learning things, I'm getting to the point where my odds are higher for success. Make sense?
So my question on that is, if you're that business owner who is jumping in and trying to do paid, when do you
Little sea turtle going to those.
when you're that little sea turtle, when do you realize if it's time to pivot or not? In the sense of like, because you're not going to find success on paid the first week, first month.
Well, a lot of people pivot real quick. I'll tell you, if they don't have any mentors or any kind of perspective that's coming from them or any kind of wisdom themselves, I mean, yeah, they're gonna be pretty fucked. You know, there's people who give up and pivot and change things all the time. You gotta be able to judge data with enough data to make a decision on. And you know, I don't even know if that person necessarily has that perspective or not, but we work in multiples of 100. I like to have at least 100 people do something like click to a page before I start making page changes. Or like 100 people do something, whatever the fuck it is, before I try to make some kind of pivot. So hopefully I can hand down that same perspective to that individual that may be in that position. To work in multiples of 100 before you just give up on something. But usually around that threshold of 100 people, you can start being more deterministic about things that may need changed or not. Make sense?
Makes sense. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you. All right, who's next? Welcome into the chair. You want to introduce yourself to the people?
Yes, my name is Daniel Based Agency, and we are the best marketing agency out there.
Let's see it.
My take is that when starting out a business, fulfillment matters a lot more than building up sales.
How you going to sell anything if you don't sell anything?
So, as an owner, like the way I started, I just pitched people, but I didn't build anything from a sales perspective up until I knew like our motto was always be the best at what we do before we become the best known. So, in my opinion, there's something called delayed gratification that oftentimes with coaching, I feel like they go to the antithesis of that and try to just focus on scale, get your pipeline full and then figure out afterwards. Whereas if you start off, maybe yes, given you make much less the first 2-3 years, after that, if you have a really strong fulfillment, you have really strong case studies, you could scale much more rapidly than you would starting out by focusing on sales.
So you believe essentially in spending all your time initially building out some kind of operational system that has the capacity to deliver a result or outcome for whoever you sell to, and then going and starting your sales process.
Making sure you actually know what you're doing, essentially.
Yeah, I understand. Look, as an agency owner, I'll tell you this, right? You've seen many other agency owners, I'm sure, that are absolutely fucking awful at their jobs. That I presume this is where you're learning your lesson from in this, right?
Correct.
So you've seen a bunch of agency owners go sell stuff, they close somebody, and then they have no idea what the fuck they're doing after, right?
Yes.
Right? Now, in that same example, listen to this. Even the person who has no idea what the fuck they're doing, and they're tapped into a network of people who do know what they're doing, they could just charge the difference to that client. Let's say they charge like what, 3 grand, 5 grand? What number are you making up here?
Yeah, let's say 3 grand.
So they charge 3 grand, right? Let's say they go find a white label partner for $1,500 or $2,000 that can deliver on that service that absolutely knows what they're doing, and they pocket the difference. They're still in a better situational result in that example by being in a position where they accumulate, right? Because businesses need cash to be able to exist. If you don't focus on sales, you don't exist. Like you're not a business if you don't have sales at all. So you can build some kind of system for something to occur, but if that isn't there to fulfill on, what's the point of delivering? Like, what's the point of building that system? What's the point of even spending time on it?
Well, I think that if you go that approach, though, you're gonna hit a ceiling and plateau a lot quicker. Like you yourself say, you know.
How much money did you make your
business.
first 30 days as a marketing agency?
My first 30 days, I got my first $1,500 a month client.
Okay, I made $50,000 in my first 30 days as a marketing agency.
Let me ask you, how much money do you think Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk made in the first month of them starting their business?
You're talking about some of the richest people on earth, and I presume that they either made a decent amount of money or that they had a tremendous amount of momentum with their products to obviously reach the levels that they're at today. When you bring it out of the realm of what you and I are as agency owners and take it to a place with Zuckerberg or Elon and their revenue, how does that specifically help you overcome this point that you're attempting to make?
Because I think that these guys are looking at any 9-figure companies, even there are marketing agencies, they essentially usually become just huge media buyers across TV and other platforms when they become that large. But oftentimes, in my opinion, these guys, like if you read Elon Musk's biography, he didn't make a whole bunch of money when he was just starting out. In fact, a lot of these guys, they were sitting in the garage working on the product for a long time, making sure it's the best thing, before obviously now they're, like you said, they're huge outliers compared to us marketing agency space. But I think if you wait for that delayed gratification, your plateau won't be, you know, potentially $1 million months, or like you said, $40 million, still considered small business. You could grow to something like 9 figures and a much stronger exit than if you just start by focusing on sales. You have high churn, you have a lot of other problems in the cycle.
I'm gonna give you 2 examples here. One proves your point and one proves my point. You ready? So back in the day, this is my last job I had where I was a marketer for this guy. His name's Grant. Okay, now Grant had this sales training program, and it was something about cold calling. It was like Master Cold Calling was the new module that we had. We created the little module, like a little visual for it, and put coming soon across it. We sold that shit for about 8 months before it existed and gave those people a discount. So people willingly bought it. People willingly waited upwards of 8 full months before the product actually existed, and then we just raised the price of the product once it actually existed. Do you believe in that or no in that example?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, they're taking more of a risk, but they're paying a lot less because it's not a product.
You ever go buy, like, what's your favorite clothing brand?
Ralph Lauren.
So you go buy let's say you want to go buy a new shirt, right? But it's out of stock, but they give you the opportunity to pre-order it. Would you do it in that example even though the product doesn't exist?
Yeah, but that's because they have the branding. They already have.
What
What
if it's a brand new shirt that they've never manufactured before, but you fucking love that shirt and they're doing the same thing, they're giving you a little discount because it's pre-sold.
Of course.
Right,
But
it's
if it
like
was a
same kind of
guy
thing.
on the corner who I never knew who's saying, hey, buy my product because I have 3 sales guys.
Dude, I'll
pitching,
give you
I
a
wouldn't
perfect
do it.
example because I've done that. You ever watch Shark Tank?
Of course.
I remember this one dude, he had this thing, I was real into boxing at the time. I had this guy named Vic coming over twice a week and he'd do boxing workouts with me, all right? Now there was this product on Shark Tank I saw, it's called the Aqua Glove. It is apparently a way to get the effect of like punching a punching bag, but without the impact of it, like negatively impacting your body. The Aqua Glove is just like a boxing glove full of water, okay? And with this glove, again, you throw the punch and like somehow the water inertia makes it feel like you punched something without actually hitting it. That fucker took 2 full years to deliver that product, and he'd be the equivalent of the guy just standing on the corner. I willfully sat there for 2 full years, let that guy hold my money until he finally delivered on it. People do that shit all the time. So here's my point. People do exactly what you're saying not to do all the time, and they do it successfully. So the real question is, are you just missing out on money you could otherwise capture if you updated your mindset to that view?
I mean, I'm at that mindset now, but it's also 4 years of being in business. And now when I'm starting, like, I love your content, to be fair, your course. I'm part of the Master Internet Marketing. It's the best content, period, that we've ever gotten out there. But now I see, so you're saying, for example, like, you're like, okay, we're doing this cold campaign, right?
Yep.
So you should see at the lowest 15% close rate, at average, you want to be right around 30. So oftentimes I find myself now, as we're scaling this, we're double what you say the average is. So our close rate could be 60, 70% because we
Raise your
just
prices.
go. You got to do that too. That's a good point. But we go and like, I don't even have to do a big picture or something. I just share my screen like, hey, look at this client that's in your niche. Look at this remodeler that's in your niche. Look at this remodeler. I'm just Googling their name. They're showing up first. They're showing up 5 times across paid and organic. And that's selling them just like that, because somebody who's starting out, he's going to have that one measly case study that he juiced somehow, you know, or maybe.
What are you doing, SEO?
We do paid and organic media, correct?
All right, so long story short,
So-
you got into like AI SEO yet with like helping
course.
people rank inside of the
Yes, sir.
search overview or like any other LLM?
Yeah, you got to do press releases for that. Just
So before you had any results in that niche, how'd you sell that?
I didn't sell it. I first did it for our clients for free because now we have, you know, a couple dozen clients. who
You
work
see, like in that same example, you could have charged those people and you could have just charged them less. You just missed out on money. You see, you could have just charged those people less and then charged the people that you see. Like this is the thing. Your mindset isn't necessarily wrong. Like you can believe what you believe, right? I'm not saying I'm right and you're wrong. I'm just saying you missed out on money you could have otherwise captured if you had the willingness to just charge that person a cheaper rate. Also, you likely would have done a better job if you would have charged more money. You likely have some level of insecurity in your capacity to deliver if you didn't have the willingness to charge that person. Whereas I'm the opposite. I love charging people what I charge people because then it makes me deliver at a higher level as a result of charging what I charge. I'm happily willing to work at a harder level than I would if I charged nothing in that same example by getting paid. That little bit of pressure you're likely afraid of, I think would evolve you as a man and as a business owner to the next level of you. And you look back on this conversation and say, thank you.
Okay, so if you say last thing, so if you take 10 businesses that are starting from scratch, let's say, honestly, our space, digital marketing space, 10 times out of 10, you focus on sales, you blow up the pipeline. That way they have accountability to grow forward.
They need to educate themselves on what to do and how to fulfill or get connected to a network of people that can fulfill for them. But yeah, it's a balancing act, you know? Again, like they have to focus a majority of their attention by far in that example you just described on sales. And then again, a minority of their attention on fulfillment. Once they get some deals, it should obviously split that ratio a little more in favor of fulfillment rather than just on sales.
And then
That make sense?
Yeah, last question. So you think if someone did take that approach, in our case, you know, first 3 years, we're making a lot less than we would have, like you said, otherwise.
Yeah.
But now that we're pouring that money and we're growing our paid media, organic media ad spend internally, we have, like I said, sometimes double the averages out there because we have really good case studies.
Well, you're charging
Do you think
poverty
that's
prices.
still-
What are you charging right now?
Yeah, our average ticket's around 35.
Yeah, so like $3,500, like what do you even buy with $3,500 nowadays? You know, it's like how many clients you got?
A couple dozen.
Dude, think about how much better your systems could be if you like doubled your pricing, reduced your overall close rate by like 10%, wouldn't even cut in half. You'd make twice as much money per deal. You'd be able to focus on each deal with a higher level of intensity because you'd have less overall deals. You'd only
That's what we're
really real
ideally
risk.
moving towards.
Yeah, but again, it's like my point is like people out there charge the triple, quadruple exactly what you fucking do. Just again, they do the exact same stuff. They just charge a substantially greater rate just because they have more confidence and certainty in their capacity to deliver. You don't even know how much better you could work until you actually start charging more money than you are right now.
Okay.
That's the point. I would encourage that you upgrade yourself. I think that this this belief that you're talking about stems from an insecurity in your capacity to deliver. I truly do.
Okay. All right. I appreciate the conversation, man.
Of course. Thanks for being a student, by the way. What you got, Big Don? You want to introduce yourself?
Ahmad. Hi guys, my name is Ahmad, and I run a seven-figure Medicare agency.
Nice.
So actually, I want you to shift my mindset around this specific thing. One of the big reasons why I left the coaching space, so I've worked with some of the biggest names, scaled a lot of the biggest sales teams, took 7-8 figures, but I realized that it's extremely difficult to sell a business if you're an agency owner because you are the face. So like right now, if you were to sell your company, your journey, you're the person that built it. But if they take you out, can they still have the same results without you?
Yeah, so I've seen because just to be very closing here, we've had for about almost 11 years now, a little over 11 years, half of our deals in the info space, and all these people are like what you just described me as, like the face of their brands, like they're what drive all the sales, they're in all the ads, like they're in all the VS sales, webinars, et cetera. I've seen 4 of those brands sell for over $40 million. And they didn't even sell for a whole 100%. They sold either a majority or a minority of their equity in their businesses for 40 mil plus in 4 different instances. I saw one of them sell for over $80 million for a majority stake in that business. And to your point, what they generally do is some large PE firm in most instances. There was one instance where it was a VC guy, and they come in like they absolutely want you to stay a part of it. And they're either rolling you up into some like larger network, like picture a platform like a Masterclass as an example that just isn't Masterclass yet, that somebody with big money thinks, I want to go and buy all these people's IP. Or nowadays, especially like in the world where all these, like I have Jeremy AI as an example. It's trained on every one-on-one call, every fucking weekly group call, every consulting call, client call. We just export it again on an annual basis, every Telegram message I've ever sent, voice notes, DMs. We put it all into a platform called Delphi, and they replicated me, and like it gives all my students and clients the capacity to just talk with me, either voice, video, or a text platform. Imagine somebody just having the willingness to license or buy my data as an example in that same context for some large scale training platform they have where they want that IP themselves. Dude, there was a guy, did you see this? The guy who bought AI.com? You see,
No.
Dude, there's a guy who bought AI. Has anybody seen that shit? How much he buy it for? Dude, he bought AI.com for $70 million. He didn't even know what the fuck he was doing with it. He ran a Super Bowl ad, and it was like the most ambiguous fucking ad in history. He didn't even have like an LLM attached to it. It's just like the weirdest thing. There's big money like that that exists that just does dumbass shit all the time. And to be clear, in the context of like a personal brand, it's either like rolling up a bunch of people, or in one of the 4 instances, they saw a software play with it because it was a real estate guy, and they had like some real estate platform and they wanted a face for it that they could like essentially attach it to. And instead of just trying to get the guy to promote it and giving him an equity stake or something like that, they just bought him out for a majority stake and then told him to promote all that shit. They made every person who signs up for his programs accounts. They added it to like a low ticket thing that could lead to high ticket stuff for his offers. Again, like I've seen it happen up close, so.
Well, I think now with AI as well, you just said it, like you can replace yourself. I mean, obviously, I don't think it'll be as good. Maybe it might be, who knows, depending on how AI.
My shit's dialed in. Like we get really good feedback from like really high level people. Like you as an example would talk to Jeremy AI, and you may struggle to notice the difference between like my actual, like what, I'm not exaggerating when I say is like you ask my Jeremy AI this same question, especially after I now have this answer documented and it gets put into Jeremy AI, it just references back to every literal conversation, like just like my normal brain would. We also structure it layers, so it's got layer 1, layer 2, layer 3. So like top of mind things that I yap about all the time, secondary things that like I may yap about occasionally, and like third layer things that I just know but I probably rarely ever yap about. I'm telling you, it's efficient both in the context like somebody could buy your data, but we've also seen it for different roll-up plays, and then in addition to that, just mainly software stuff.
Well, it's just something really interesting. We were talking initially, and you said that digital marketing is the best industry to get into, and I agree for that.
I think so.
100%. The only thing I say is, do you think there's other boring businesses out there that have a higher return? Like for instance, like I got into Medicare because
Like what, cash flow return or like exits or what? Like
exits, cash flow. Digital marketing. I'm gonna take the, from what I've seen, cash flow, digital marketing wins. But like exit wise, I think there's a lot. There's obviously tech, there's software, there's what I've seen is insurance does really, really well.
Yep.
What are your thoughts about potentially people leaving this space and going into other boring businesses by taking the skill set they learned digital marketing?
Dude, that's a big reason I say it's so awesome. Long story short, if you acquire digital marketing skills, and especially if you're able to validate those skills at scale, you can take them and apply them to damn near anything, like what you've chosen to do as an example. Like we as a marketing agency, we like to say that we get paid to learn on behalf of our clients. It's like we go out there and we spend scaled dollars for these businesses to make them money with whatever they specifically do. We're in turn learning exactly how to promote that type of business without having to risk our own dollars on it and getting paid to do it at the same time. And usually we do that very successfully. So to your point, if I then choose to take those skills and that experience in that example and roll it over to a new business I want to start, which we have, we're happy to do those kinds of things. We view that as an incredible upside of this whole opportunity with digital marketing, you know?
So what are some examples of some businesses that you've taken this scale and now boring
Most
businesses?
recent one is my SaaS business, Utari. So I've had a few SaaS companies that we've helped promote, and they've done things where they're selling something low ticket for like dozens of dollars a month to maybe a couple $100 a month. They might get a couple hundred or a couple $1,000 a month. Somebody piffs up front for a year. Some of them, to be fair, are like higher ticket software, like B2B enterprise type software SaaS businesses. But yeah, moral of the story, I just recently started Utari, which is my agentic AI platform. I got pissed off that Manus rolled back their agentic AI mode before Meta bought it. And so I cloned it. It took about 8 months, about 250 grand. Again, it's just essentially an agentic AI version of Manus that I beefed up a little bit. And we started promoting that. Took a couple hundred customers to get it to like 8 to 9 grand a month recurring. It's in the middle of promoting that. I'm in a month, I think I'm going into month 3 now that it's March officially. on promotion cycle of that thing. But yeah, it's going well. Like that's an example of that. I'll lose money on that for a good couple months, and then realistically by the end of the year, I'll probably get to a couple $100,000 MRR a month. But it'll take a bit, you know, it'll take a bit.
Cool. Well, that's it for me, brother.
Oh yeah, cool. Thanks for coming. What's up, man? You want to introduce yourself?
My name is Rene Lacade, and I run a marketing agency.
Sick, dude.
My big disagreement with the stuff you say, I agree with a lot of it. I think a lot of it's fire, but I think you always say you should always go for rich people if you want to make a lot of money. I disagree. I think there's a lot of money when it comes to like poor people as well.
Yeah.
I
Telling them
think
what?
it doesn't matter what it is. When you look at like a great example, you look at McDonald's, right? The biggest fast food chain is McDonald's, and they're selling $3 cheeseburgers as opposed to like a Five Guys who sells a $20 cheeseburger. McDonald's is way bigger. So you can replicate this across every industry because it's more accessible. And what's cool about selling to poor people is that rich people buy your stuff as well. So you're technically selling to everyone as opposed to just the rich people. Because I understand it's higher ticket, but then there's other like downsides to it.
Yeah. All right. Two things. Number one, I'll play it on behalf of my own business because to be fair, like through our marketing agency, we sell to regular people and poor people all the time anyway. But if I just look at it from my business specifically, where I exclusively like to sell to rich folks, I'll tell you why. Number one, rich people are way better customers. They behave better. They don't. When I say they behave better, I mean in a literal way. Like they have far less customer support requests. They're quite literally in almost all instances smarter people. I'm not calling all poor people dumb as fuck by any means, but I will say this. The experience between the two is extreme for like typically how much more competent a rich person is, how much more capable a rich person is at figuring stuff out. The results relative to whatever it is that we sell, if it's an info product, if it's an actual like physical product, they usually use it and get more benefit from it comparatively to what poor folks will get from it. So again, we typically see like more actual outcomes that are documented. We also find that we just get to charge a lot more money when we sell to rich people comparatively to selling to poor folks. So the multiple of revenue per customer is substantially greater compared to selling to poor folks. In addition to that, when I say speed, what I'm gonna use as a variable here when I talk about speed is like literally their ability to take whatever it is that you sell, whether it's a physical good or some kind of service or even an info product, and just implement it. That speed, like measurable, is insane. Also, in the context of specifically info products, dude, unbelievable. I've sold stuff, the same exact product for like a couple $100. Half the people log in. I've sold the same thing for a couple $1,000. 100% of people log in. It's like, even in that example, just like using it and actually implementing all of that. That's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Kind of like, I don't want to be fruits and vegetables. Yeah, you ever heard me talk about that?
No, I haven't.
When you go to the grocery store, which I doubt you do to be fair at your level, and you get fruits and vegetables and they show up in your fridge and you don't use them, you throw them away, you end up going back to the grocery store again and you end up getting more fruits and vegetables. They always inevitably end up back in your fridge. They're cheap enough where like if you don't use them, you don't really give a fuck, you just kind of throw them away. Whereas one time, bro, I got this A5 olive-fed Kobe beef from Japan. It's like $492 for a little ribeye, right? The thing showed up at my house, frozen. How fast do you think that thing was in the pan?
Oh yeah, it was literally
Like minutes. Is the fucking insane. They came with a certificate, by the way, if you never eat this shit. Anyway, moral of the story is like, I like to be like that. Like I like to have like instant usage and like actual benefit from what we sell, you know? That's been my experience why I bias towards.
So then I guess the other question, like, isn't the cost per customer acquisition much higher?
It can be.
Cost per lead would be much
depending
higher
on
as
what
well.
it is, but the profit is usually still far greater, even if your cost of acquisition is a little higher.
And then the second part, don't you, like, from what I've noticed, everyone that gets smoked, and specifically info, everyone that gets smoked, any sort of like SEC stuff, anyone that gets like canceled with info, it's always because they're selling some ridiculously high ticket thing. You see a lot of these
True poor people.
You see these Amazon automation things, and they're selling to rich people. They're selling like doctors and
Yeah,
stuff.
that was insane.
And you've seen it, like it's happened like for like 10 people, 20 people already. One guy got killed because of it, because he messed with the wrong people. But it's like, whenever you see these people like sell any sort of high ticket type of thing, rich people will take action in the same way you said they'll take action on your product.
Yeah.
They'll also take action if your delivery sucks. So let's say,
that's true.
let's say someone takes your advice and they sell to rich people and the fulfillment just sucks. So they sell it well.
Hey, they're gonna get smoked either way, though, to be fair, you know? But even in the context of poor people, you're essentially chalking it up that like the person who gets fucked on buying something for cheaper wouldn't be as probable to take action.
I don't think they would, because even if you do, let's say you do a crazy volume, some of them might be unhappy, but you refund them for $200 as opposed to refunding a $20,000 purchase, which is now a larger part of your income. Let's say you're doing $1 million a month, but it's through $100,000 $10 purchases versus $1 million a month through $25,000 purchase. I don't think the math is right. $5,000 purchases. Refunding someone that, I think the reason that people get
It'll
smart
hurt more,
is
yeah, it'll sting.
because they look at it, they're like, oh, I can't refund that. Or they spent the money already versus if you do volume, now you kind of like mitigate your risk a little bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, all right, being a responsible business owner, first of all, is important to consider here in like ethics and what. Yeah, the automation space, perfect example of
Right.
selling something high ticket. But think about this. Did you buy an Amazon automation store?
I bought like 4, like an idiot.
You did? You got fucking smoked on them?
I got smoked for like 80 grand.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Now, did that financially wipe you out?
No.
And did you take action on a single one of those 4 people?
No.
Right, so in your example, you could financially endure the loss and not really give a fuck about it because that's a part of what you already factor in to your financial risk tolerance you have. It's like, so in that example, you are the rich person that bought that didn't take action because you can financially endure it. Whereas to be fair, the people who did absolutely take aggressive action against those automation companies, there's definitely rich folks peppered in. I'm not acting like there's not. But to be fair, it's usually the people that are spending like the last of their dollars and they had to have it work, right? We don't sell high ticket to poor people for that exact reason. The pressure's too high and their certainty has to be high enough for those dollars to return to them. Whereas somebody like yourself, you have a higher risk profile, and in addition to that, you have more financial, you just have financial cushion, right? That's why you don't have to take action on that, because it's not even worth your time or the energy to go through the legal process to try to get that cash back. Maybe a class action letter hits your inbox and like you get to participate in it passively. I'm sure you do that, right? But it's like the proactively do it is like a totally different fucking scenario in that example. But to be fair, a lot of those automation companies, think about this too. And I was hoping you'd say no, because the point I'm about to make, I'm not trying to make you look dumb, to be fair. But it's like most of the automation companies are actual buyers were regular people that were on the last of their dollars. Like these were like savings, inheritances, or financer funded. Like that's when the FTC steps in. It's like when you're fucking Americans, that's their job, is to protect against companies that are just fucking people, right? So no matter what I sell, and there's been plenty of instances. I'll give you a guy, I remember his name, and even if I did, I wouldn't say it because I'm about to be detail oriented on him getting pretty fucked. He came to me, he was making $200+ million a year with a credit repair business, okay? And this credit repair company was charging like a couple dollars all the way up to like $100 a month. The $100 a month thing was the most costly thing they had. But dude, $200 million a year, like this guy was an MLM operating at fucking scale on this thing. Respectfully to the MLM component, I have no idea what they charged for that, for like paying to be a part of it and getting the opportunity to promote. But again, that's assumptively is where they made a lot of their money. Point I'm trying to make, FTC fucked the living shit out of that guy. Why? Because he wasn't doing a good job of delivering any kind of actual credit repair services to people. The main thing was essentially just like an MLM Ponzi. FTC comes and shuts the guys down, bars them from ever selling that again. That's to protect Americans. They shut down the automation companies because they were doing what? Fucking people, right? It's like, so if you fuck people, it's like, yeah, you're gonna get shut down whether you're selling to rich people or poor people, right? And to be fair though, the financial endurance component of it, yeah, I mean, look, if I charge one person like 20 grand, that's like the only money I have, and then I need to go pay rent and bills and staff, and then like I lose that customer and I have to refund them too, I'm cooked. Like I'm fret. The cons of high ticket are your concentration of revenue per customer is higher. And so if you have a small volume of customers, you're gonna get fried. Right? But at the same time, like that's a good motivational driver in my opinion to go bigger rather than to stay small.
Well, so then the second part of that, right? I think when you look at it in terms of like barrier to entry, when you go big, you're competing against people like you who know a lot, that are a lot better, and you'll have a more dialed in sales process, marketing process. Your cost per lead is going to be a lot lower than, let's say, someone just getting started. If you were to, what would your advice be to someone just getting started? Would you still say the same thing, go high ticket as opposed to low ticket?
It depends on what they're selling. I mean, you want to make something up if they're selling. Okay, yeah, so if they're selling info, in this example, do they have like the backing of knowing what they're actually doing and selling somebody on? Like, do they have like some kind of financial outcome to it? Is it just something that does a return, or is it more of just like, I'm just teaching you some shit?
Typically, it's just like
am I teaching like meditation, or am I teaching like how to make money?
Oh, how to make money.
Okay, yeah, so if I have the actual ability to get that person a financial return, relative to what the financial return is, should be what I charge. It should be relative to what I charge. So as an example, if I'm teaching somebody how to make and sell hot dogs, it's like, I'm not gonna charge that person fucking $50,000 to learn how to sell hot dogs, because they're selling hot dogs. How many fucking hot dogs are they gonna have to sell in order to make back $50,000, right? It's like, that's insane. But if I charge that person like a couple $100, that's proportionate in my opinion. I do fair deals. Like, I don't encourage being audacious with your pricing, but comparatively, let's say I teach a guy how to go out and make an extra $100K a month, right? And I only charge him 10 grand one time. He's fucking me in that example. Like, and again, if the probability is high that he's actually gonna go out there and make 100 grand, what if he doesn't? What if he only makes back 10 grand one time, right? It's like, it's still justified in that example to charge that 10K in my opinion. Because again, it's like the probability is much higher that they make much more money. So I charge relative to what we can actually produce for an individual that we're selling to. Does that make sense? It's about certainty.
So then I go back to this, right? For example, like you run a marketing agency, I run a marketing agency.
Yeah.
Your marketing agency does way more than mine. You've been around way longer. You have a lot more experience.
Nice, thank you.
How much do you sell your program for, if you don't mind me asking?
The one that guy was in, the 5K?
Yeah.
So 5K one time,
Okay.
yeah.
Great
Called
example.
Master Internet Marketing.
So what benefit does it do for me if I try to compete in your space and sell 5K versus me selling, because mine's 500, which is actually a perfect example in this case. Instead of doing volume at 500 for everyone that can't afford yours, it's like even you with all of your marketing efforts, because they can't afford your program, you're still spreading top level awareness. I'm catching a lot of that anyways on the bottom half. And then my marketing efforts, I'll have a much higher close rate. And then eventually when I capture these leads, let's say they have a lower success rate, it doesn't matter, but I can just send them anyways to like an inner circle or something.
Yeah,
Right?
to be fair, like if you prefer that to be your model, like that's how you prefer to do it. In my world, I hate charging only $500 because like I said, like I learned the lessons down there of people didn't take it that serious. Half of them didn't log in. At 5K, 100% of them log in. How much of my program did you consume? It has, just to be clear, 7 weeks of a 3 to 5 hour class. There's dozens of videos in between each one of those classes. There's a community and I update it every year. I redo the whole fucking class with whatever the most recent shit people need to know is. How much of it you consume?
Like at least 24 hours between me and my main sales guy, and we still have a lump full of content.
Yeah, how long you had it?
Like 2 months.
He had it for 2 months. He consumed more than 20 plus hours. I charge a guy $500. I'd be lucky if the guy even fucking logged in and watched one thing out of it. You know, it's like, I don't want to be the fruits and vegetables. I want people to take it serious because I want my reputation to stay good. It's like, I want people to actually take it seriously because I want my students to actually go out there and get real fucking results and outcomes for people. And when they do go out there and get real results and outcomes and make me look better, they are my reputation. Like him going out there and being successful is literally what's gonna make me look good or me look bad. Does that make sense?
That
So
makes
at
sense.
5K, I also give much more of a fuck about him than I would having a guy only pay me $500. Because 5K to me is more meaningful than only $500 that I could get from him. Does that make sense?
I
You just feel like I give a fuck about you? Yes, sir. Yeah, it's okay to say no if you disagree. My point is though, it's like, that's what I'm also trying to say. I give more of a fuck about him, you know? That's
Fair.
why I update it every year, right? When's the last time you updated that shit at $500?
2 years ago? 3
Yeah,
years
it's been
ago?
a while, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like every year, like I'm like enthusiastic. I stand in front of that big ass screen. I show up every Thursday for like fucking 5 hours of class. I redo the entirety of the presentations and like dump my soul into those updates.
Fair.
I try to make them as successful as I can. I update them in between the annual updates too on random shit that happens.
Fair.
You know, simply put, I just give a fuck about them and they give a fuck about trying too because they pay enough.
But isn't that specifically a you thing? I think for the general person,
it
I
could
think
be
for
a
the general
preference,
person,
to
go
be fair,
charge
yeah.
$5,000 and they won't do any of that, what you're doing, and then they'll fuck themselves too.
That's
So I
the
feel like
ethics things, to be fair. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
That's the thing I've found is like moral of the story. That's my personal leverage of what I just described. So by no means does that mean it's projected onto everybody else.
Yeah.
It's just a personal bias I found that works for me and works for the people that we get that buy that off.
Yeah, I love it. Appreciate you, brother.
Of course, man. Thank you for coming. What you got for us? You want to introduce yourself to the people?
Certainly. My name's Casey Woodard. I've done over $20 million selling Discord access for under $75 a month, and I've never run a paid ad.
You got to update your bio, dude. You only put 18.
I know, I think I threw 18. It's been a minute. Same thing. I don't update either. So I have one thing I disagree about and one thing I kind of want you to enlighten me about. I think that one's going to be more interesting, which is I think especially me coming in the low ticket world, I follow a lot of the guys in the high ticket space. I'm personally either friends or like friendly with a lot of the people in your mastermind.
Nice, man.
Every single time I hop on an ad, I hop on a VSL, I see a webinar for somebody, people I know are legit, people I am friends with, it still screams like scam, low trust, get rich quick 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
And so do you think there's something I am missing? Do you think that there are structurally just issues with, I know webinars print, I know a lot of people who I'm friends with who I'm like, you're hyper legit, but I see your VSL. And if I was an 18-year-old college student, maybe I've just been in the info space for too long and I've seen too many and I would like run for the hills because it screams like selling somebody a dream. But like, what do you think I am missing or what do you think works about those that I don't see? Or do you think most people's are actually trash and there's just a few people who print really well because they just have such a big audience that they get a ton of money off a small percentage?
I'll just give you a random example I could think of. So we had a client, 2019 through 2021. This is one of those guys that sold for 40 million for his info business. He helped people cut out alcohol. His name's Mark, okay? He's charging $7,500 and he did it through a VSL call funnel. This guy would tell the story of how he just got super fucked up. He had a big business doing really well, and then he just got really into alcohol. He started getting into drugs too, went to rehab, went to AA, just got fucking cooked doing that. Didn't have success, ended up losing his kids, like going through a divorce, and nothing worked for him. He then built this system. He called it I Am a Comeback, and it got quantified by a university that validated this. It had a 90+% success rate of thousands of these men with similar issues, like going through alcohol issues, mainly businessmen with some kind of alcohol problem is who his demographic is. They were paying $7,500 a person for that. And it's through a VSL, right? Now this guy in like a 5-minute video is articulating that type of story and the system and trying to sell you on filling out this application below. He's helping people that are going through it. Like I'm talking crazy fucking shit that they're actively putting in these applications that is like they're paying. They're coming through talking to somebody who typically came through the program as a salesperson, and they're closing on one of those calls. That guy, at the time I found him, he was doing about 120K a month. We got him up to a little over $1 million a month. Some months almost hit $2 million a month, just through that specific funnel, like nothing else, okay? Then, like I said, he went and he exited for a little over 40 million bucks. Now that guy in that example, over a 2-year period of time, he had less than 5,000 followers that entire period, and he did all of it through paid ads in that example, right? It's like, he didn't feel cringy, he didn't feel bad, he's helping people at scale. It's like, anybody could look at that in that example and project that same opinion you have and just be like, oh dude, like you're like fucking cringy, just trying to take advantage of guys who are like going through alcohol problems. It's like, that's a way to look at it, but is that the way that you think he looked at it while he's helping these guys essentially like overcome losing their kids or losing their businesses or getting fucked? You know what I mean?
I'm thinking, not to like cut you off, I'm thinking more like the biz opera info space, specifically where it is you were like, not selling money, but more or less selling a biz op or something like that, where it is, yeah, I think it's just the classic, which you see a lot in like clearly Prince is like Rose in the Rolls Royce, kind of showing off the vacation thing has gotten like, I know those were like, I used to have an Audi R8 that was like bright blue. I post that, I get 1 million impressions. I drop actual sauce, I get like 10 likes. Like I know those things work.
Did you upgrade from the R8?
No, dude, I actually downgraded to an M3. Or not downgraded, but yeah.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I love it, bro. I like it more practical and awesome.
I'll let you drive my 750. I'll see if I can change your mind.
Dude, you might have to. I actually test drove. I was in the market for Huracan last week. I drive it and I'm like,
I'm pretty sure
I kind of like the M3 a bit more. Maybe I'm just broke. I just like the M3.
A low ticket, you know?
Yeah, dude, low ticket. But yeah, I think it's more of the, I don't care about
Okay, in this example you're talking about, do these people have ethics or are these like the pieces of shit in the info space?
No, I think they definitely have ethics, and I think, or at least the ones that I know. Some of them I know what it is.
These people you're talking about, like these people are like good people who are like actually helping people, and like again, the back end of their offers, like they actually have success with what they're selling people. But
yeah,
it just looks.
Some people I know, yes. Some I don't.
But
some people yes, some people no. But either way, it works.
Okay,
like
understood.
I'm not saying everybody who's like flexing it actually has low fulfillment. Some of them absolutely body and like are helping people.
Makes sense. So, and again, in this example that you're talking about, these people, they just look cringy in your mind. That's what you're saying.
I don't even want to say cringy. I think it's,
they look like
yeah, like low trust. I think it's been cooked by so many people who are having bad fulfillment that the same playbook run by somebody who has high fulfillment sometimes can come off that way. And like, I think that's the lever that I'm unsure about, or not lever, but
how
like
you
still run
your low ticket discords right now? Like, what's your promotion strategy?
We spam fulfillment. We have over 150,000 customers over the past 5 years.
It's all like product led, like it's essentially
super
just got
product
high
led,
net
super
promoter
testimonial.
score.
We're the highest reviewed product in all of WAP. Like, so we just run super high
promotion to it at all.
We do a ton of organic, but it's kind of back end by us showing the thing in action or us doing the thing rather than flexing the results of the thing. So it's not
like
lifestyle marketing.
The page that people convert through, is it just a literal checkout page, or does it have a VSL on it, or is it through a webinar? Like,
yeah,
how
so
you
it's
actually
a sales page, and it's pretty much just entirely showing how the thing works and then showing customer success.
Got it. And the thing specifically that you disagree with this like promotion strategy?
I don't
or
think
VSLs
disagree, but like almost like
webinars?
enlighten me.
Got it. So the VSL and the webinar strategy, these people, are you talking about like the framing tactics they use?
Yeah, I think that's mostly what it is. It's kind of leading with lifestyle content in a VSL rather than customer outcomes or like, here's the actual biz op, if you will.
Got it, makes sense. Well, I mean, just to be clear with you, by the way, I got an entire fucking VSL SOP I can send you after this if you want to like literally see it, to be clear. But more of the story, like the frameworks we teach, like You'll never see in any of my material like, oh, dude, you should go and fucking sit on the hood of your Rolls and like film the VSL there and have fucking helicopters behind you while you talk. You know, like I don't encourage doing that kind of stuff either. We typically say the same stuff where we're like, make sure you actually talk about, we have framing techniques to be fair, but the framing techniques aren't like flexing the living shit out of your lifestyle. You know, you may have a rags to riches story in there, give or take what they're actually selling and who it's being sold to, but moral of the story, it's mainly about exactly what you're saying. Just here's what the product is, here's who it's for, here's who it's not for, here's how we encourage people to use it, here's like the outcomes it typically produces, here's like risk disclosures and disclaimers to make sure you understand like
Which is pretty much what we have right now.
Yeah, and like that's what we encourage people to do. Like, we don't go out there and like if somebody came to us as an example, they were just one of those flex the living shit out of their lifestyle people and have like a really shit. I'll give you a perfect one, dude. There was a guy, he joined my Inner Circle program. Okay, I don't remember his name, and again, I probably wouldn't even say it if I did, just because I'm about to disrespect this guy. Okay, he joins in and he has this offer, something about like a remote cleaning academy. Okay, he had a random brand. I don't even remember the niche. It was an e-com store, and the guy claimed that he did over $100 million in this random e-com store. Okay, now here he is in a VSL, and this is how he opens up the VSL. He's like, hey guys, like my name's blank, and you know, I made $100+ million in my e-com store, and like I'm gonna show you how to make your first 10K a month with the remote cleaning business. And like I watched that and I kicked the guy out immediately. Like I refunded him and I made fun of him, right? It's like I publicly hung him in the group. And I was like, don't be dumb as fuck like this. Like that guy, I thought was gonna get shut down by the FTC. You know, like I thought he was cooked. And I used it as an example, like this would create massive distrust, first of all. Like who's a regular person that's gonna hear a guy who's made $100 million and think, this is the perfect person to help me make my first 10 grand a month with something that they didn't even make $100 million doing, right? It's like, doesn't make any fucking sense. Jesus Christ. Doesn't make any fucking sense, you know? So the moral of the story, just in case people can't hear and they see me get jumpy, that was a loud clap of thunder, okay? I hope somebody else jumped so I'm not the only pussy. Well, yeah, anyway, moral of the story is, that like ethics-wise, I don't agree with the ethics of doing what you're talking about. I will be fair in saying though, there is, relative to the demographic you sell to and like what the offer is, some components of that which are still gonna be necessary to like weave into a VSL. Like again, a classic like rags to riches story, if you're doing a biz op to regular people that are also going from rags to riches, would be an important component. But it wouldn't be like, you know, it depends again on how you do it. You can tastefully do it. You know how some people wear gold chains and they look like shit and they look like gaudy and weird. And then there's other people who wear gold chains and you're like, that looks good. Yeah. You know, it's like that's
See the AP, we're still tasteful.
Yeah. By the way, you want to see this thing's sick as fuck.
Here's the black ceramic.
This is the black ceramic open work perpetual calendar skeleton dial one.
It's a beauty.
Sick, yeah. That's my cream of the crop watch. I haven't bought anything else after I got this one. They all seem beneath me now, you know? Okay, anyway, moral of the story is, it depends, you know? It depends on the person, but I agree with you. And I will also tell you this, okay? This is very important to understand. I also believe that you've fallen victim to some propaganda that exists that's negative about the info industry in general. Okay?
I thought like that's even why I'm like predominantly low ticket. Like that was almost one of the things I was gonna ask you is, I've done pretty well in low ticket. How much am I leaving on the table by camping out in that industry?
Yeah, that 20 million, is that annually or is that just over the lifetime of you selling this shit?
That's over the lifetime. We've been around for like 6 years. I'm probably at like 600-700 a month right now.
Got it. Okay, and you don't upsell these people shit. You just sell them the low ticket
We're
thing.
testing a high ticket. We literally started like 6 weeks ago and we're just testing it right now for fulfillment reasons.
Got it. Without exaggeration, I bet you'd crack $1 million a month if you just started upselling people something that costs like 5 to 10 grand and was some kind of, you know, larger system that you're aware of that you could do for people that you're not doing now, that you'd feel invested into actually helping people with if you charged a higher amount. I doubt that you're actually taking a lot of these people that are at a low ticket level super serious for like major outcomes. My bet is you're helping people with like smaller outcomes, right?
Yeah, it's definitely like at scale, side hustle, somebody who can go from being a college student to make 5, 10K a month. We have some people doing, you know, tens of thousands a month in income through reselling is like one of our main offers. But yeah, most of them are, you know, learning a side hustle rather than replacing their job.
Makes total sense. All right, I'm gonna tell you this too in terms of the propaganda component. When I say I think you've fallen victim to like negative propaganda, I'm a deep believer in this because I have campaigns where like I actively attempt to manipulate positively people's psyche to like view things a particular way to get them to increase a probability of taking action on something I'm gonna try to sell them later. Propaganda also victimizes people all the time. It's like in the info space, I wanna be very fair in saying it is not the purest of industries there are a lot of people who are literal scammers and they have no ethics at all and don't run like serious education companies, you know, that essentially just fuck people all the time. I'm not defending the entire info space, but to be clear, why would I only look at that if I'm trying to participate in the info space like you are?
Yeah.
Right? Like if I fall victim to exclusively looking, hearing, and telling stories about that side of the market, what am I probable to think and behave myself with? Like in your context, you are not gonna sell high ticket because if that's the types of stories you're listening to about people selling high ticket that just fuck people all the time, again, your beliefs shape what we do. Beliefs cause wars. You know, it's like what we do comes down to how we think and behave. It all's sourced from beliefs. That's all it is. So in comparison, it's like, look at the other side of propaganda, right? It's like the other side is, think about the amount of education companies that exist that have truly like been transformative for individuals, that have gotten them to pay like a good bit of money. Therefore, the person takes it way more serious. And in addition to that, they've gotten major outcomes as a result of whatever they bought and purchased. And those people have high hit rates of success. They refund the wrong people that come in, like as an example, the remote cleaning guy that was fucking weirdo. You know, it's like, my point is that side is the side I personally pay attention to, that I consistently hear stories about, look at stories of. Those are people I talk to because again, I want my beliefs to be aligned and framed around what's gonna perpetuate my behavior rather than make it so I shrink and like don't do stuff comparatively. Does that make sense? It's like,
Yeah, perfectly. And I think, yeah, almost to your thing, like I've tried so hard to be, from a marketing framing perspective, removed from the low trust stuff that I've probably left so much money on the table because I wouldn't, still lean into like, hey, like if anything, you're probably doing people a disservice by letting them buy somebody else's high ticket that's gonna have lower fulfillment from a low trust source.
To be fair, like you seem like a very ethical individual in terms of like why, like you essentially have safeguarded yourself from participating in something from hearsay, essentially is what it sounds like. But that's due to personal ethics realistically, right? It's like, think about if you did charge high ticket and you did actually try in that space, why in the world would you project that onto yourself that you'd fall victim to those people's ethics and behavior? Right? It's like, I think to your point, if you actually chose to step into that space and do things in that niche, I think that you would do an incredible job and you'd likely be on the good side of that niche and help the entire info space as a whole be more credible as a result of doing good business instead of bad business. That makes sense? It's like we actually need more people like you to overcome your challenging beliefs to be a good market participant. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like, I would encourage you to drop the consumption of wherever those stories and hearsay are coming from. Let's keep it real, right? Like there's entire YouTube channels dedicated for skeptics.
Yeah.
Right? There's entire Instagram pages that are dedicated to just exposing like scams and lies. And like, bro, if you sit there and you consume that shit regularly, right? Which your brain will naturally bias towards wanting to consume because they're fun stories to listen to. It's like, think again, look at what it's done to your behavior. Outside of just leaving money on the table, to your point, like it's prevented you from actually helping more people who I bet would more than happily give you money and desire your help over others. You're making them go to other people. Plus, on top of that, yeah, absolutely it leaves money on the table so you can get richer too. That makes sense?
100%. So then other thing, I don't know if I disagree, but let's clarify. You're not sick of the first conversation you had about ads is still, like I said, I'm sure at the point of maturity in my business, like I said, we did a little over 20 million, got to update the bio. Yeah. We're now exploring, we're going to start running ads because we probably should have done that a while ago. But if I'm starting out, which is what you guys were talking about earlier, I think ads, like almost your thing is how quickly do you want to get rich? I think, going from fat to fit, Jeremy, like how come you haven't started taking steroids yet? I think it's one more point of like, how quickly do you want to fail or something go wrong if you don't know what you're doing yet? Is a lever you'd pull. And I think if you're starting out an offer, if you can't nail product market fit off organic, then ads are just a quicker place for you to run out of money. If you are, working a 9 to 5, like that was my story. I was working a 9 to 5. I went to college, grad school, thought I'd get into investment banking, hated it, wanted to blow my brains out Monday at 10 a.m.
Nice.
Started what I do now, thankfully been able to scale it. I didn't have unlimited money to kind of like start things off with the business with. If I would have put all my money into ads running a terrible product, which I'm sure it was for my first 6 months to even a year, I probably would have been back at the drawing board to think that my business was terrible instead of like working things out because I hadn't found product market fit. I think if you have a good business and you pour ads on it, you're doing it way quicker. But I think to the person who is starting off with a finite amount of like time, money, and most importantly, skill, ads are just a quicker way to like run to zero.
Yeah, all right, a few things. When you first launch on one of these platforms, like let's just use Meta as an example, you have your highest probability to succeed when you first launch. If you and I coded the casino of Meta ads, would we code it in a way that would naturally give the person who's given us their first dollars they've ever spent with us the highest probability they'd get a return?
For sure.
And why would we do that?
to get, to keep it sticky and to make sure they keep putting money in.
It's like their way of activating a customer, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, to be clear, in the same way like Fat to Fit Jeremy, it's like, well, I didn't need to take drugs when I very first started the journey because I had newbie gains. Are you familiar with newbie gains? It's like, dog, I was hitting like week over week, losing like pounds of fat. Like, I think I'm in week 14 now in this most recent week. I'm down 31 pounds of fat. There were days where I was losing like a pound of body fat. Now it's like in the most recent week, it's like 0.2, 0.3, you know, like now is where it makes more sense to introduce something like a Reddit True Tide, right? It's like comparatively when I first started, like I didn't need it. When somebody first starts, they have their highest probability of succeeding in paid advertising because the platforms build it in a way where that is stacking the odds in their favor rather than against. They don't make it like hard as fuck to make your first dollars via paid ads. So contrary to your point, like you actually have a really high probability when you start to get some return. To be fair though, it's based on your financial condition. Like when I first started with my marketing agency, I was poor. It's like, I didn't do that well. I just pitched people. I just made video pitches, sent emails, just pitched the living shit out of people and followed up with them. I didn't have money to fucking advertise otherwise. So to be clear, it's like, I can understand both scenarios, but framing wise, if you do have a little bit of dollars, dude, especially at your level, it's like, think about it. Being at 600 to 700K a month, you have more than enough free cash only promoting this shit organically to gamble a little bit, right? And so the other thing is like, Renee over here buying 4 fucking Amazon automation businesses. Think about his risk profile versus yours. It's like you have more than enough cash to swing your dick here and throw your balls on the table and take a bet with paid ads, and you're not. I'd really encourage this. Question your risk tolerance and update it to the current dollars that you have and make and have accumulated, right? Don't be the old version of yourself that had to develop your business and promote it the way you have to get it to this point because you didn't have the dollars for it. That's not you anymore. Like you've updated yourself to be in this current condition of leverage. Use your fucking leverage you've got and grow faster, you know? You ever heard somebody say like, oh, the first million's super hard. And then like when you go from like 5 to 10, it's easier. And like going from 10 to 25 is like super easy. You ever heard some audacious
100%.
shit like that? Why do you think they say that?
Is that coming from people who've done it?
That's coming from people, like I'll give you an example of where I'm literally thinking this data from. Kevin O'Leary has a random clip in my head where I'm thinking exactly him saying that.
And I'm
like,
assuming because lived experience, everybody who's done it is true. Just
it's like, it's easier to turn money into more money when you have more money already, right? It's like, again, you've accumulated enough resources to make a couple $1,000,000 a year. Like you have to update your behavior and your risk profile as you grow financially to take different bets that you wouldn't have previously taken. So yeah, if we're sitting here acting like we're talking to like the small fries that are watching, it's like, yeah, dog, listen, don't go out there and spend your last dollars on paid ads. You're probably gonna get fucked, right? But like if you got some cash, like if you got some cash and like you're watching this at 600-700K a month, like yeah, time to fucking pull the balls out and put them on the table and take a swing. You know what I mean? Like that's the difference.
Sure.
It depends on who we're talking to. That makes sense?
100%. So run paid ads, launch high ticket, get the 750.
Yeah, again, you would be impressed in like a year from now when you have a high ticket ascension product that eventually becomes something you also end up selling on the front end. You're gonna make VSLs and you're gonna run webinars and like you're gonna do this shit yourself and you're gonna be getting so fucking paid that when some dickhead calls you cringy or like kind of like a scammer, you're gonna be like, the fuck you talking about? Like I'm helping so many people, and if I didn't do this, there'd be somebody else who might actually be a scammer charging these people and they'd be getting fucked by that guy. Does that make sense?
100%.
Yeah, be a willing market participant at your current finance level, run some paid ads, sell high ticket, and like help the people that I bet are literally begging you for it. I bet people ask you all the time about it.
Yeah,
you get nobody that ever hits you up and just, oh, Cam, I don't need any more help, Casey. That's all.
Yeah. We did like we tested and we did like 100K off like 2 Discord messages in one of our communities.
Yeah, I mean, outside of the money you're gonna make from it, which is gonna be fucking awesome, you're just gonna look back at this whole thing and just ask yourself like, fuck, why did I waste so much time not doing it? And it's gonna be because of your beliefs, right? It's like the ability and capacity for a business person to update their beliefs faster when new data presents itself that challenges you. I just try not to defend against beliefs or data that prevents me from getting richer and helping more people. Whenever I see a belief that I actively hold where I'm getting challenged, like if you challenged me in a way right now where I said, yeah, what he's saying makes total sense and like I should change and update my behavior because it's gonna make me more, it's gonna help more people, I'll just do it. Like I wouldn't even think twice about it. I'd be like, yeah, why not? In comparison, what most people do, they just stay latched onto that shit forever. And then how long have you been latched onto that? You said how many years?
Yeah, we've been doing we've been doing this for 6 years. Yeah, I probably operate the same way I did back when you're at 100K a month.
Yeah, you see what I mean? It's like, dude, the behavior between 100K a month and 700K a month, it's like driving your car at the fucking e-brake rig, right? It's like, it doesn't make any sense. And look what it's also done. I know I'm not trying to disrespect you when I say this, but really think about this. I don't just judge our lives materially, but I will say, like, you've also chosen to downgrade yourself with your vehicle. Have you downgraded yourself in other areas too?
Nah, I got a nicer flip. Most other things have upgraded.
Okay, good. Have you increased the amount of cash you have in your bank account?
Yeah.
You've increased
I've deployed immediately, so my cash is the same, but yeah, net worth investments all went up.
Okay, so hear me out, right? It's like materially, sounds like your car is the only area that you've downgraded. Every other area you've upgraded instead. Bro, think about how much faster you'd upgrade if you had this one thing that holds you back right now as like the challenger belief, right? Like anytime that I see somebody have friction in their life or get challenged on stuff, I look at it from that frame, where I just say to myself, this has to be the opportunity that I've needed to make me grow way faster and release the e-brake. You know, that's how I look at what you're telling me right now.
Sure.
And you're gonna look back at it, you're gonna kick yourself a little bit for waiting 6 years to upgrade that view.
Yeah, well said. I appreciate that, man.
Man. Thanks for coming. So,
How's it going?
what's up, man? So introduce yourself to the people.
This works, right?
Yeah, you're
Just
good.
like this? What's up, Kareem? I run a company called Relentless. We automate job searches.
Nice, man.
We get people
Kareem's
jobs.
fasting, by the way, so give him a little tolerance.
Give me
here, okay?
tolerance. Fasting Ramadan. So actually, this may lead to something I disagree with, but there's two things I want to unpack. I'll explain both, and we'll dig into either.
No, we got.
So you're a really ethical person,
Yep.
and you also want to get rich, which I love, and I'd say that's very common with everyone here. I've had a gripe against info products for a very long time.
Nice.
And the reason,
Like selling them or buying them?
selling them.
Okay.
And the reason is what I've found is if you sell an info product to someone, vast majority of people, even if you charge a lot of money, again, I haven't done it myself, but I think the vast majority of people won't actually execute on the information well enough to be able to get a return.
Where are
So
you making
that-
this
that-
up from since you haven't done it yourself?
It's my bias. It's my bias. So
where's it come
let me
from, though?
explain. It's my bias against. That's my bias against information. It's like people don't generally execute, and so what I ended up doing is I ended up building a business which actually does the service for the customer, and we automated so much of the service so like we could actually provide the outcome. Does that make sense? So it's almost like you can do it for the customer, or you can tell them what to do, and they can, hopefully they'll actually get it done. Let me actually reframe what I'm saying. If I know how to do something really, really well, the probability that you get the outcome from the thing that I know how to do well is significantly higher if I do it for you. And the reason
How much are you charging for that?
we charge, so for my product, we charge $7K and then 10% of base salary.
Okay, and to be clear, you're saying if you had an info product that taught people how to do that instead of paying you to do it, the hit rate of success would be lower.
I think we have to define the terms. So let me define the terms for a second. I'm basically saying the following. And maybe this is because I'm not really good at communicating and storytelling and all those things. But if I went and I created a course, and I haven't done this, but if I created a course on how to get a job, right? And then I served it to people, and let's say I served it to 100 people who have a very high IQ, the probability that they actually get the outcome that they want, which is getting a job, is lower than if I said, I'm actually going to take care of everything for you, for the 100 people, and then the probability is a lot higher.
But what if the person was like aware of that risk? Like what if you just disclosed it to them and said, listen, this costs $7,000, and they said, I don't have $7,000. And then you said, well, I got this $1,000 option. However, I just want to disclose to you, the odds of you having success with this, since you have to do it yourself, is lower than if I did it for you. We typically see, and then you could literally disclose it. Like at first, obviously, you'd be making it up, but you'd be willingly disclosing it either way. After you have some people and some data, you could disclose like the literal numbers. You could just say, look, here's the odds of success when you do it this way. Here's the odds of success when you do it this way. Wouldn't you, in that scenario, still be willing to charge the person if you were just willfully disclosing to them the probabilities?
Yes, which is why I wasn't actually necessarily agreeing with you. With this first topic, I think that having and it's really hard to actually do this properly, but having so you have to define a metric. For example, like a good close rate, quote unquote, a good close rate is like 20% or 30%, right? That's fairly well
Call
described.
funnel or something? Or like
Yeah, like let's say you get on the phone with like 10 people and then you close 2 in 10.
Got it.
to somebody like on the streets, they'd be like, oh, that's terrible. 8 out of 10 people aren't interested in your product, right? But to like us, we're like, it's actually good, right? So you have to have like a base rate or an expectation about what a good KPI is to be able to draw a conclusion, right?
Yeah.
Right. So when it comes to ethics and info products, and yes, if you disclose it upfront, like a lot less people get success because you actually have to input, like you have to do the work, you have to actually, get the outcome. I've always had trouble with info products, even if you disclose things publicly, because for me, it's like, okay, let's say I could create an info product, and let's say like I measured the results, and let's say over a year I sold 1,000 people, and let's say 50 people got the outcome that I was selling, and then 950 people didn't. My issue would be 50 people doesn't sound like a lot of people in my mind, right? And even if I disclose that publicly, A, I don't know if I could do that and still sell, and then B, if I disclose it publicly, like I don't even know if that solves the problem, because then it's still have 950 people buying it. So my whole thing,
It depends on what you charge.
I'm not disagreeing with you, by the way, on like your general perspective on this, but my whole thing with info products has always been like, and maybe this is a question.
Insane ratios, by the way, like 50 out of 1,000 having success and like 950 not. Like that for sure be like an insane ratio. That'd be terrible. Yeah, like that should be the case.
So
I mean, you should have it like either the opposite or like maybe even half and half, or like it'd be 500 and 500. Again, depending on what you sell and like how much you charge.
So
obviously, whatever how you're selling, whatever you're selling, but your ratio definitely shouldn't be that bad.
Well, I don't know, because I'm not in the info space, but like with the info products you've seen, what is, and this actually leads to the question, what do you think is the good? Because everybody who's ever sold a product has had an unhappy customer at some point, right? You refund them, you take care of them, use some sort of thing, right? But I've always struggled with like you just said 500 or 500, 950 obviously 950 out of 1,000 sounds like a really good ratio. But do you have any like intuition from all the info products you've seen on what actually is a good KPI for people getting the outcome? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it can be extremely high. Like it can be damn near 100% as long as your fulfillment system and whatever you're doing for your deliveries dialed in. Like there's all kinds of ways to still have really high hit and success rates.
With an info product. When you're
yeah.
presenting information and the person has to actually build you instead of things.
Because
But people are insanely
nowadays,
lazy.
information companies nowadays are also very different than just like, here's like some videos, right? It's like there's software components to them now. All the things that you're saying you've automated, you could literally just sell access to for these other people to get it as a part of the info product, where you're just teaching them how to use those things instead of you having to do all that shit yourself. My point I'm trying to make is it depends on like, again, like how the actual system is set up of the info product. But it's also down to what you charge. So the same example I used earlier, if Renee's here charging $500, it's like, yeah, half his people might not even log into it, and they might not even give a fuck they didn't even log into it.
Right. So is that
aspirationally buying something? If he charged $5,000 for that same thing without doing literally anything different, he would see, without exaggeration, damn near 100% of those people, if not literally 100%, log in, consume it, if not consume literally all of it, and then try to do something with it because they spent more money on it. So it's not even just the delivery system that matters. It's also the pricing strategy on the front end to get that fruits and vegetables analogy, or to get the fucking A5 Kobe olive fed Wagyu. You know what I mean? It's like there's a big difference in both pricing strategy and delivery that determines outcome probabilities. That makes sense?
No, 100%. And I agree.
I'll tell you this.
When you charge more
so
money,
than
people do
anything
more
else,
things.
what you're trying to find here, without having data to validate it, is opinion that can give you certainty to act, okay? And the better thing to do is to act and find the flaws in what you're doing as you act and improve as you
100%.
go. Because again, as long as you're an ethical person, you will do good business and you will do right by the people who've given you money to get some type of outcome relative to whatever you've charged them for. So what I would do if I were you is I would stop trying to find the certainty. Are you familiar with what's called the burdens of proof spectrum?
No.
There's this concept where it's essentially like this spectrum. I just renamed it to a certainty spectrum. There's people out there who operate with extremely low levels of certainty and still take aggressive action even though they know nothing about whatever it is. There's a lot of people on planet Earth that need absolute certainty. I'll give you an example of this. Have you ever invested $1 into crypto before?
I bought $2,000 worth of Ethereum in the peak in 2021-ish. I think it's still worth the same amount.
Now, hear me out, right?
Yeah.
You chose to buy it at the peak in that example, at the top of the market, obviously anticipating it'd go up higher, I'd assume, right? But it's like, think about how many more people were giving you certainty when it was at that specific peak compared to when it was trending up to that peak.
Right.
How little certainty there was in comparison, right? And realistically, you probably don't know everything there is to know about Ethereum unless maybe you studied the living shit out of it to make that $2,000 purchase, right? Which type of person were you? Did you study the living shit out of it, or did you not know as much as you could have known and you still bought it anyway?
So I actually tend to live on the side of being less risk tolerant. In that case, I was.
You would require more certainty.
Yeah, but in that case, I was like living with a friend. He was, making a lot of money off crypto. So I was like,
And so you hijacked the certainty of your friend.
I hijacked the certainty of my friend.
Yeah, and so hear me out, right? This is very important to understand this. The people who typically make the most in life are the people who operate on the lower half of the spectrum where they don't need a lot of certainty and they still act in extreme confidence and they just take an aggressive level of action anyway. The people who wait until they have absolute certainty are always late to whatever it is that the opportunity provides. They typically don't make nearly as much because, again, they're delayed in participating in the market. And in addition to that, most of them don't really take action, if ever, because again, they require absolute certainty to actually move on something. And if they do move, they only invest like $2,000 into it in that example because they're not that risk tolerant as well. It's like, my point being, you want to find a way to adapt your character to be on the lower half of that spectrum and be capable of, okay, I can still choose to do things without needing absolute certainty to do it. Like what you're essentially sitting here asking me is a bunch of questions that are all intended from a place, all stem from a place of like, I'm just seeking certainty to act, right? It's like, you know that this can not only help people and be another revenue channel for you, like you know that there's people who can't buy your $7,000 thing that would happily buy like a $2,000 thing from you, right? You know that. But again, outside of knowing it, now you need all this other data to validate whether you should do it or not. That's the part that's silly. Does that make sense?
No, I hear you. I hear you. And to be really clear, I'm not critiquing. Actually, I don't even necessarily disagree with anything you've said. I was more, and I actually don't want to sell an info product. I'm actually very happy scaling the one thing, and maybe I should actually sell an info product, but I'm actually very happy scaling the existing thing that we've built. I was more asking
both.
from this. Yeah,
need to be a game of either ors. You know, when you're a rich dude, it's a game of both.
Yeah, I mean, I was asking more from the standpoint of like, you kind of need to, and this actually relates to my second question, which is like on ads, we've never run any ads. We get all of our business through cold email, and we've automated the whole cold email system. We email 50K people a week, and that basically produces enough meetings for us to close enough deals to produce revenue. Yeah. But on this whole thing, it's actually a very similar question, which is you need to have like a KPI to be able to derive a conclusion. And again, like, let me simplify that even more. Imagine I told you I spent $10 on ads and like it didn't work. You'd look at me like I was stupid. You'd be like, you probably have to spend more than $10 to be able to validate a channel.
Dude, I had a painter who came in here and did some random work. He told me he was spending like 10 to 15 bucks a day. And he's getting like $3 cost per qualified leads on instant forms. And he said he scaled to $17 a day in ad spend, and he got like so flooded he like couldn't handle it and had to shut it off. Like.
Are you being serious?
I swear I'm not.
Oh, okay.
His name's Jose. He came in. He did our. You see the little bars that these lights are hung on here? I had him paint those. I had him do all kinds of random ass work. But yeah, I'm being dead serious. And then he shut it off because you know why? Because cost per lead inflated from $2 to $3 to like $6, and he was like tripping about it. And I was like, bro, how profitable were you on a fucking $50 lead? And he was like, oh yeah, insanely profitable. I was like, anyway, different conversation.
Right. So maybe this relates to a whole set of other questions, but for everybody in the room that's considering ads, and again, maybe this will lead to things I disagree with you on. What KPIs do you think they should look at? Is it just purely like
here's how I'd
cost of
encourage you to
acquisition
think
and
about
profit?
it first, right? You got to think about it like gambling, okay? You need to walk into the casino, Zuckerberg, okay? First of all, let me tell you something. Sergey Brin pulled up right across the street from where I lived in my penthouse at the time.
I saw this video.
In a fucking $450 million yacht. I Googled it and I found out it was one of 3 of his yachts, okay? So when you walk into the fucking casino of the Google boys or of Zuckerberg, it's like, just understand, first of all, they're not that rich for some random reason. They are God tier levels of turning money into more money for businesses through these systems they've developed for people, okay? They're tremendous at their jobs. Second, you don't walk into a casino over leveraging yourself. That is rule number 1. You don't ever do that. You walk into the casino with a gambling budget that you're happy to vaporize, that you just chalk up as like, I had some fun tonight, got some drinks, got to play some games with my boys, and then you leave the casino even if you vaporize the money, it didn't financially burden you. In an advertising perspective of that same logic, You are literally walking into the casino. You just don't get to smoke cigarettes unless you're doing it at your desk, and you don't provide you alcohol, right? But you can do that again at your desk if you want. You sit there, you have data that you acquire that enables you to see what you did wrong and improve upon it like the fucking casino doesn't tell you, here's where you fucked up, right? Zuckerberg and the Google boys will tell you, here's the data and what specifically was contracted that you need to improve upon. So even if you technically lose money, when you walk back into the casino again, you get to improve upon something that they transparently told you about you were fucked up with that prevented you from making the money. In addition to that, you don't gamble an aggressive amount of money. You gamble something like the painter did. Like the painter, I would never encourage somebody to only spend 10 bucks a day, but like, he didn't get that advice from me. He just fucking went in there and did that shit himself because it's easy enough for him to go in there and do. He went in there with a small budget, okay? 300 bucks a month. And that's what his gambling budget was. You have an amount you can realistically just throw at the platform that is a gamble, that if it worked would open up a whole
What
new
would
customer
work
acquisition
be?
camp.
Do you have, is it just
turning
depend?
money into more money, right? So you're charging $7K one time, or do you have a recurring component to what you do?
No, we charge a back end, 10% of base salary.
Okay, so moral of the story is you could realistically, in your example, and this is very important to note, okay? In like a worst case scenario for you, you could have a $7,000 cost of acquiring a customer, maybe
Does
even
that make
lose a
sense?
little bit of money on commissions. And as long as you're actually like, again, clear on how much you're gonna make on that 10% of the back end and when you make it, justify spending all the way up to that amount or any amount, like I said, that would realistically make you break even, factoring out other costs.
Yeah, refunds, etc.
In a real base scenario, it's like, well, you might spend like $1,000 to $3,000 acquiring a customer in that example, have profit on the front end acquiring that customer, and have the back end on top of that that just increases profitability as time passes by, right? It's like you haven't opened up that channel yet because back to your traits and characteristics you seek absolute certainty before you move on something, okay? If you just went in there with the gambler's mindset of, I'm walking in the casino, this is my gambling budget, if it vaporizes, it is what it is. I'm having fun there's no crying in the casino. You just have fun, right? You just have fun. And you acquire data, you reflect on it.
It's haram in Islam.
Right? It's like, think about what I'm
get
saying.
you.
You just sit down and you try it and you're buying a new revenue channel. That's how you have to reframe it for yourself. Because right now, you're a one-legged stool, right? I could come up and just bop and you're fucking cooked. Right, your email goes down, like your deliverability goes down. Like you better have a fucking multi-email backup
We
system.
do.
Which I hope you do.
We have a bunch
But again, it's like, think about this. That's a one-system business, so one-channel acquisition business. This could be another channel, plus there's more than one ad channel, right? So again, you reframe it to, I'm investing in opening up a new revenue channel. I'm gambling, right? And I'm trying to turn money into more money. And in a best-case scenario, I'm extremely profitable on acquiring customers on the front end, and I get a way to turn the faucet up or down in real time relative to the ad spend I can dish out. It's pretty cool.
I'm gonna jump on the content bandwagon because I know 2 other people brought this up. Again, not speaking from experience, so my argument is gonna be very, very weak. But I'll just speak from the standpoint of like seeing what I've seen other people who have experience do. Content. Imagine you have money to spend on content, money to spend on ads. Take, I don't know, $200,000 and put it towards content this whole year. Take $200,000, put it towards ads. You could hire a really good content person for $12K a month to produce content on a ton of channels, build a ton of trust, and because it doesn't look like an ad, even though it is an ad, intuitively, it seems like you'd get a lot more customers off that $144,000 hire than you would on $144,000 spent on ads.
Real quick,
But like
paid ads work better when you have content on platforms, to be clear. So like if you have long form content, your paid ads work better. If you have short form content, your paid ads will work better. So in your scenario, again, like I'm not really an either or guy. Like I'm more of a both guy, you know, like I encourage people to do both.
So I want to talk more about ads versus content.
Good.
And I want to talk more about setting KPIs, and let's just focus on ads and we can extend it to content. But I'm going to simplify what I think your actual perspective is on this, and then you can tell me if this is correct or not. But what you would effectively do is you'd say, I'm going to take, let's say you have $1 million. You're going to take $50K. You're going to put that into ads. For simplicity's sake, let's just say you're going to run meta ads to a call funnel. And then what you're going to do is you are going to look at, after spending that $50,000, you're probably going to be iterating stuff, but you're going to look at what your cost of acquisition is for your spend, for your ad spend, plus your sales spend, and then you're going to figure out what your CAC is. And then as long as that CAC is below your actual profit from that customer, you're going to go, I'm going to spend on this and scale
Yeah,
this.
scale the shit out of it, yeah.
Right. So that's how you think about this.
Realistically, the one caveat to that would be I'd pick whatever funnel would play into my sales team strengths that I'm working with in that example. So like if you get a sales team that only has worked with organic leads in the past, a call funnel might be brutal for them to deal with because they're going to be much colder leads and they'll have a polarizing bias. As an example, if I have a sales team that's just a team of people that have gone door to door for their entire life, for their way of their sales career, and then all of a sudden they get the opportunity to just dial on instant form leads, right? I'm gonna play into the strengths of the sales team for the funnel I pick. But yeah, as soon as I get profitability that's like the desired level of profitability, I'm immediately gonna start pushing scale. I don't wanna stay stuck in test mode too long. I wanna get to a point where I enter scale mode so I can actually start making some real money.
Okay, cool. You just distinguish between two types of salespeople, right?
Yeah.
Door-to-door versus people who are used to organic.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you how I view the differences, good versus bad. Because the door-to-door salespeople can sell organic and the cold leads, and the non-door-to-door salespeople can only sell content, which, organic leads. Would you agree, or would you disagree with that?
Obviously, yeah, there's plenty of salespeople that exist right now that just honestly suck at their jobs. Like they can only deal with layup deals. Like they can't close shit otherwise.
Yeah.
Big problem.
Okay, cool. So you agree with that? Yeah, I mean, the only last thing I'd end with is if you do have the budget spend, let's say you're going to spend $50K over the next 3 months, do you think that's better spent on somebody who is great at content, or do you think it's better spent on somebody who is great at
50K is a sizable enough budget where you can do both. Again, like I'm not really an either or guy. Like as an example, like me turning into Fat Jeremy, I just go to a restaurant like, oh, there's 2 good appetizers. Like let's get both, Like you don't need to be an either or person when you're rich. Like 50K is more than enough of a budget to just split it down the middle or split it whatever ratio you prefer to do the content and the paid ad system in that case. And you don't even have to blindly spend the full 50K even if you do just go all in on paid ads. You'd get to iterate way before the end of that 50K being spent. You could realistically spend a few grand and already have the data you need to see the improvement cycles that are going to be necessary to endure through.
And how do you validate whether it's your ads suck or your salespeople suck?
We have what's called a bottleneck analysis that we do in every funnel that we run. So in a paid advertising scenario, we'd look at a few things. Are we using a call funnel in this hypothetical just for clarity? Okay, so call funnel, no opt-in on the call funnel, just an application and a scheduler in this example. So you got your CPMs, you got your link click-through rate, you got the quantity of people that click to the page versus how many actually booked a qualified call. That ideally is in a 3 to 5% range. CPMs are ideally in like a $30 to maybe $70 range, depending on what niche you're going after, potentially less. Link click-through rate ideally is 2% plus. To be clear from there, you have show rates, assuming a 1-call close. If you had a 2-call close, you have the show rate for the first call, second call booking rate, second call show rate. Then you have close rate, then you have AOV. These are, in some instances, made up of sub-statistics that can then be tracked if one of them is contracted. But the bottleneck analysis is pretty simple to understand. Like look at it like this, you got a solid pipe and all of a sudden one of these steps contracts. Doesn't matter how much water you try to push through it in that example, there's gonna be a limited amount of flow because of that specific contraction. Wherever the contraction exists, that's where we put all our attention and we isolate it to that to open it up. So in some instances, yes, you might have an issue with your actual sales team being the problem. In other instances, you might just have shitty CPNs or shitty conversion rate on your page. Like the bottleneck analysis will reveal what you need to laser concentrate attention into to fix. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I don't really disagree with you on anything else. I'm happy to step away. Do you want to debate your decision to use substances to lose more weight?
Well, to be fair, I just didn't think I needed to do any kind of drugs, so I knew I'd have newbie gains. And to be fair, I make a lot of money and I have specialized knowledge. So like me doing some random drugs puts me in a position where I'm potentially risking like my health and my brain. I've talked to enough people at this point across all different walks of life that have given me a high enough degree of certainty, not absolute, but like a high enough degree of certainty to act on it. And I've also plateaued on my newbie gains. So I'm officially ready to start hitting some drugs. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you, I'm sure you've done the basics of looking at like, you know what calories in versus calories out is?
I got a trainer I pay that follows me around 12 hours a day. He's up with his pregnant wife right now, getting an ultrasound done this weekend. His wife is, not him to be fair. But anyway, moral of the story, he tracks all my calories. I don't track shit. I wasn't doing good with that. It's a great example why I also became Fat Jeremy.
Yep.
I just didn't in any way, shape, or form quantify any of that shit. So
yep.
I don't think about food. He's like, here's breakfast, here's your, like literally like hands it to me, like here's what you're eating, here's the snack. And if I'm feeling like wobbly or something, I'll just like say it out loud, like, hey, I'm feeling a little fucking this or that right now. He'll give me like some random shit, like aminos or a little fucking protein bar or some shit. We got the gym right across the thing here. So we got conditioning days. We got obviously a lot of weight training days. We go do that stuff. I got my walking pad over there in my office that you can see. I hit my 10,000 steps every day. I'll be in the middle of a call, just pop his head in and be like, "Did you hit your steps yet?" He has an app that's linked to his desktop as well that shows him what my steps are at for the day, so he knows when to come in and like encourage me to walk. I have all the accountability I need through him in terms of like buying the caloric intake being tracked and like all the weight stuff and
Yeah.
I weigh in every morning when I come in. So yeah, more of the story.
Instead of using substances, why don't you just drop your calories by another 300 or 400 a day?
Great question. So I actually get very, very dumb if I go a little lower than the current deficit that I'm in now. So we found from testing it to be clear that like my mental capacity diminishes to a point where I'm just not as valuable if I go lower than where I'm at now. To be clear, I'm not going to get on Retta because I have like issues controlling food consumption. I'm getting on Retta because apparently, and again, I don't really actually know all this, so I'm not that educated on it. It supposedly targets 2 different areas in body fat, like visceral fat and something else. And this specific area of my body, like my midsection, that'll be the last area to drop in fat if I did it all naturally. Whereas apparently Retta will target that at a more aggressive pace than it would otherwise. And I'm just at this point open to doing it, like I said, because the risk seems low. And it seems like there's also other benefits and upsides to it that I'm interested in exploring. I may be able to also go into a deeper deficit as a result of getting on Retta without the mental downside. So I'm excited to see how it goes. I'll report back on it.
Cool. You sound convinced. I just have a natural bias against external, and I've gained and lost weight.
Time to be clear. Yeah, I'm not opposed to continuing to go natural by any means. At this point, look, I'm all for anything that can help me get some kind of outcome faster without much risk associated with it in this case.
It's just hard to measure risk for substances like that.
I don't disagree. I mean, there may be some long-term downsides that I'm going to expose
They make you
myself
dumber
to
than what you're
here.
doing with the deficit.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, I don't know, but here's the good news. It seems like if I do experience some kind of downside, I can just get off of it and I'm going to go back to how I was prior. So I haven't heard or seen any stories through research that have indicated otherwise.
Yep.
If there was, to be fair, I'd have a much lower probability to do it.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
This was fun. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you coming.
Yep.
You want to introduce yourself to the people first?
Sure. I'm Noah Friedberg. I run Maverick. It's a TikTok shop marketing agency. We scale with human influencers and AI influencers.
Sick.
Yeah. So my question for you, it's about your strategy, right? You sell to rich people. So my question there is, I can understand for maybe your customers in Inner Circle or people in general that are doing info, as other people also mentioned, like showing the Rolls Royce, showing the lifestyle marketing. For you, maybe you just do it for fun, but why are you showing maybe a house tour? Why are you showing your car? Maybe you just do it for fun because you like it. Or is there a strategy behind it?
I generally just try to be transparent, just show people stuff that I got going on, because I look at it like this. I think it's like a credibility / trust thing, where if I'm not transparent about how I do certain things, then it actually lowers credibility, in my opinion. It's very important to note, when you deal with actual rich folks, there's a very specific way that they live. There's very specific ways they talk. There's very specific ways they invest. It's very consistent across most of these folks. And although yes, stuff is just stuff, it's also still something to showcase that will build credibility and validate that I have enough cash to be able to buy stuff and not have it like mean a lot to me at the same time, you know? It's a very interesting.
It's a fine line.
Yeah, I agree. And I will say this as well. I also just thoroughly love stuff. So as an example, like if I loved some other random shit, which to be fair, I also showcase besides just that specific thing you're cherry picking, I show all of it that I think is cool, I guess, you know? It's kind of like stuff can be a hobby, you know? Like a classic thing guys like are like watches and cars and guns. Like I would do a whole thing. I have so many guns. Okay? And I don't know if I can show them on YouTube or not without getting banned or flagged or something like that. So I don't show that, but like I'd love to do just a gun tour and, you know, showcase. I just got an automatic shotgun as an example from my wedding gift the other day.
I didn't even know that existed.
It's super fucking scary. It's insane. And they get me a banana clip with it, you know? And I don't even want to go shoot it from how fucking petrified I am and how that thing's gonna fire. But I'm gonna tell you this. Sorry, I'd love to make a video on that, but like I can't. So I'm limited to stuff that I do like that I feel like I can obviously showcase without getting flagged, you know?
Okay, to sum up, it's about you just being yourself.
Yeah.
There's not necessarily a deeper strategy. to it.
Look, I don't in any way, shape, or form hide the fact I love materialistic shit. I think it's amazing. I actually, this is a belief that I have. I think that for my internal world to continue expanding, I need my external world to expand too. So look at it like this. I'm sure you met somebody like this before, that maybe they're extremely smart, extremely capable, and like seem very knowledgeable, but their external world doesn't align to it at all. Like as an example, I know some really smart guys that live in like 1-bedroom apartments that have like little fucking Camrys or something simple like that. And like nothing against their lifestyles and what they choose to do, but like as smart as they are, I don't view them as smart as what they might think they are, or as smart as I otherwise may view them as if their external world caught up a little bit. I also think once your external world catches up, that it allows your internal world to expand a bit further. I think they're in tandem with one another. I don't think they're disconnected. So I also try to pride myself on essentially validating that my internal world can expand and grow through expanding my external world. That makes sense?
That makes complete sense.
Yeah.
To push back on that or just clarify a little bit, what I'm wondering is I think I got a sense of your mindset. Something you mentioned a lot is focusing on the needle movers to help you scale.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, let's say I'm sure you have team content people, you have people helping generate content, all this stuff. Why have them take a picture of you with your car instead of use that same 5 minutes and talk about a new strategy that you used on a client and post that on it?
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't that be more useful?
Well,
grow your
just to be
business?
clear, in that same example, it's like, am I gonna go get in my car anyway?
Well, yeah.
Can I take an extra 2 minutes to have somebody just snap a quick flick?
Yeah, fair enough also.
It's like I'm doing it regardless, you know. It's not like let me be really clear. It's not like I'm like going out of my way to take hard flex shots or anything like that. You know, it's just shit I'm already doing. It might look like to somebody who doesn't have that stuff that I'm going out of my way to flex that specific set of stuff. But let me give you another perfect example, okay? So you can see the strategy behind this. So I just got absolutely face fucked buying out of my penthouse lease the other day when it started smelling like a raw sewer, okay? So all of a sudden the entire guest wing of my fucking penthouse in downtown at this building called the Paramount just has this raw sewage smell coming through all the shower drains. I'm like, what the fuck is this, okay? I call the building up, the engineering team comes in and they're like, oh yeah, this is like a known issue. Something about the P traps. And they're like, you just gotta demo the bathrooms and like fix the P traps. And I'm like, okay, well I rent this place, okay? I was spending $25K a month the first year and I was in a 3-year lease. I had $26,500 a month the second year. I'm in the middle of the second year when this issue happens, okay? Initially, the problem is as simple as just run the showers. Because again, there's like fucking 4 bathrooms we're talking about on this side of the house. I don't ever use them, you know, I'm not like going shower to shower to shower. So it's like, they don't ever run. So all I initially had to do was just run water. And all of a sudden, like the smell would go away and that'd be it. And then out of nowhere, that problem just came back aggressively. It didn't matter how often I ran water, just wouldn't do anything. And by me, I mean my maid's running water, okay? Moral of the story, I then call the owner up, okay? Owner's name's David. I tell David, I'm like, David, this fucking place, I can't even use this whole half of the house. Like one of those rooms is my office, one of them's a guest room, one of them's this like empty room I was just doing nothing with, and one of them's this den area. I was like, I can't even go over there right now, bro. Fucking, it's rank, like it's terrible. And he essentially tells me in a nice way, go fuck myself. He's like, yeah, like, I'm not gonna do anything about it. So what am I left to do in that example? I'm just gonna live in fucking raw sewage, or I'm gonna have who knows what level of cost to demo a bathroom in a place, 4 bathrooms I'm not even gonna live in, I don't own the place. I'm not doing any of that. So my lease to break it was about 153 grand. I had a 25K deposit with the building because it was rent times 4 to move in, a 25K deposit with the actual unit itself, and then I paid last month up front, which was 25 grand. I had to dish out, if I'm not mistaken, I think the net amount was like 104 grand just in cash to be able to break that. I then had to go and get a new place. I picked a new place down in Coral Gables. It was about $29,500 a month. So it was about 90 grand to move into that place. Okay, so now I'm about 200K invested into this. And then I go buy furniture. I'm not poor. I'm not gonna buy regular furniture. I bought about 100K worth of furniture, okay? And this is about 8,000 square foot house, just put it in perspective. There's a lot of furniture to buy. So moral of the story, I'm about $300,000 deep on breaking this lease, right? So I made a series, I think it was about 3 videos. One of them was a penthouse tour. One of them was I'm getting fucked and here's my problem in the penthouse. And then one of them was like, here's my final review of the penthouse. From a tax perspective, do I now get to write off the cost of that $300,000 because of that set of videos, yes or no?
I'm no tax expert, but I assume yes.
I'm no tax expert either, but the answer is maybe. I actually don't know, but I talked to my CFOs about it who do all my tax strategy, and they said, well, again, they're like, yeah, we can work with that for sure. Like, there's definitely some, I might not be able to save the full 300 on as a write-off, but to be clear, it's like, because the penthouse building was used for masterminds prior to us getting this place, and in addition to that, because I demonstrated with documented evidence that it had business usage for us, that I also used it in this case on my random vlog channel I have for business usage, this enables me to at least take it and not get face fucked as much on that cost and turn some of it into a write-off, okay? So again, here's my point. In that example, it's like that's something you can't see, right? That would also showcase what I'm actually doing and why I'm doing it in comparison to just like a random action. I promise you, it's the farthest thing from a flex to flex the poop house. You know, it's like the poop house ain't a flex, it's a poop house, you know?
Yeah.
Comparatively, I'm just trying to get a fucking tax write-off on that 300K I dish out. That makes sense?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So what would you say to business owners, maybe they're newer or maybe they're just afraid of alienating their core audience, selling to rich people, that everyone says, well, the rich people, they're not going to be as impressed by the Lambo as the high schooler or the college student that you're selling that 10 grand, make your first 10 grand a month course, right? Yeah. So for rich people, how are you, is it okay to share that stuff? Like, what's the way to share that stuff?
How much money you make each month?
We're doing like 50 to 100 a month.
So to be clear, in your range, right? Like you're barely a gross millionaire on your best months, okay? Now hear me out on this. This is very important to understand this. Actual rich people have so much money where they could buy all this kind of stuff and it doesn't really matter to them. Like it's no longer looked at as like something that's a flex. It's just kind of like stuff. You know, it's like your cars just become those things. Like your watches just become like some of the nicest watches if you're into those things. If you're not into those things, it's like naturally you wouldn't give a fuck about them. It depends on how it's interpreted. I want to be really clear when I say this. Like my type of rich person I sell to, they're not like a corporate rich person in almost all instances, right? My type of rich person in almost all instances does actually have most of these things that you see me with, or that you see me like flick up with, or like use in videos and things like that, or sometimes I use as examples and talk about. They do appreciate these things. Like they do actively when we meet each other, like literally immediately start talking about one another's watches that we're wearing, or immediately start talking about some new car they had just gotten, how fucking cool it is, you know? It's like comparatively, if people don't give a fuck about that stuff, then you just don't talk about that stuff with them. But you understand it's more like a hobby that you can participate in. But let me tell you this, right? That 50 to 100K a month, you don't get to participate in those things. Like you can't go buy a $400,000 watch. Right now. You can't go get a $400,000 car and then another $400,000 car and then another $300,000 car and then a driver as well. It's like, so you don't get the opportunity to actually say like, oh, I like these things or I don't like these things. You can only look at it like, this guy must just be flexing this stuff.
Well, I gotta be, I don't see it that way. I'm not hating.
I'm not saying you're hating.
From a context perspective, I do find it inspiring and I think it's great. Like I would do the same. Like I
look at it like kind of a who it's for and who it's not for thing as well. It's like who it's for, like in your context of how you're saying it, like, oh, I like it. It's like, that's cool, right? The people who don't like it, it's like, I think it's good that they wouldn't like it in that example because that's how I am. It's like, again, on YouTube, I don't say the R word or the G word, but like I happily say the R word all the time in everything on my back end content. I'm talking about the equivalent of the word dumb. Moral of the story is, I say like in terms of sexual preferences, that's the G word. I say these things regularly all the time. It's like the person who'd get offended by that kind of stuff, I would want them to get offended by it and be like, yeah, because again, I say that kind of stuff. And I don't try to like manipulate my character around people who could give me money, but are gonna make me like reform my character in a way I wouldn't otherwise want to be. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like, you know, hey, I like cars, I like watches, I like guns, I like stuff, you know, like I like nice things. It's like, and again, all the people who buy from me, it's like, because I'm transparent about those things, they typically like those things too. That's one huge thing about personal branding you have to understand is, it's like what you put out there about yourself, about how you are and your preferences, those become things that other people will look at who also have those same preferences. So you naturally attract that type of person. That makes sense?
Oh, for sure. I see the same thing, even in my own business and my size. A lot of my customers, like I get along with them.
Yeah.
I'm Jewish. A lot of my customers are Jewish. Like you see that. You see
it makes total sense. Yeah. It's the same thing. I mean, talking about like religion and even race is an example. It's like we had a client, he's an Asian guy, about 50+% of his clients were Asian. It's like you have an Indian client, it's like same kind of concept, 50+% of their client base is gonna be Indian. That's how it goes. Like the whole birds of a feather flock together thing is true in both random things that are flexed, race, religion. Like these are all just character traits and personality types that you're putting on display, like identity in a sense. And those things, again, like they're meant to attract or detract the right and wrong. That makes sense?
Yeah, agreed, 100%. But there is a certain aspect of it that's, I wouldn't say fake, but like manufactured. As an example, when you go, but not you specifically, but people like you want to show a lot of case studies, or you intentionally put certain things out there.
Like what?
Case studies as an example, or certain aspects of your business. Like realistically, most people don't show the bad stuff that much.
I talk about bad stuff all the time, personally, you know?
Well, yeah, you got that good penthouse story. That's pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, like the penthouse thing with the poop house is like one instance, but I mean, same thing with like customers and stuff. Like we don't just try to highlight our good deals.
Yeah.
We try to talk about our bad deals just as often as we talk about good stuff. Same kind of concept, because we like to openly disclose risk. Yeah. Like, very, very important to note, most people won't actively disclose the downsides of what they do. Whereas because we sell to rich people, I tell you this from experience, actually selling to rich people requires you to actively disclose rich, because that's an attraction mechanism for them. When you try to make it sound too polished or too good to be true, they believe you're hiding something like what you're sitting here saying, which would naturally deter that type of person. So you're not wrong by any means in what you're saying. If you're looking at somebody and they're exclusively putting out all the great things and none of the bad things, that's going to deter the right type of person they may otherwise be trying to attract. That makes sense?
Oh, for sure. Because for me, I even hear you tell me, oh, well, I have this customer, he did this thing wrong, I refunded him and got rid of him. Yeah. That sounds good. Okay, cool. So they did something wrong, you got rid of them. Yeah. Great. So that's the worst case scenario. Yeah. That's a pretty good worst case scenario. So
I agree. Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, to be fair, like that's a very important disclaimer that most people undermine. They view it as like a net negative to talk about bad stuff and to be transparent about it. But yeah, you got to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that's cool. Thank you.
Thank you. By the way, before this dude sits down, check this shit out, okay? I'm 6'5". This guy's 7'1", bro. What the fuck? Yeah, okay, anyway.
The tallest and the best worker out there.
Let's see it. What you got? You want to introduce yourself?
Oh yeah, my name is Pedro. I own a marketing growth operation agency, Evolve, and last year we did around like 7 million for the offers we're running. Just a few actually. So
it's insane. Yeah. Is this how people feel when they talk to me? Jesus. Yeah. All right, what you got for us?
Question more about like something related to limiting the leads and how your personality has shifted to a point that it got today. Because I remember a little bit of your story. It's not like you came from, a rich family or anything like that. You actually raw dogged every day.
Mom was a babysitter and dad was a factory worker. He works at a gas station today.
There you go. So the rags to riches story, when you kept going through those motions of life, getting hit in the face, but keep pushing it, and then you start realizing a lot of things. For an example, that you were just mentioning, that the stuff you buy, it becomes just stuff at some point, right? At some point, things will lose its meaning that you give to them, and you start realizing what's important to you. However, for you to stay motivated or with the right mindset through all those times, for you to reach the point that you're comfortable talking about money, receiving a huge, large amounts of money, because it's not like you were probably making like more than 20K a year at some point, right, in life, like we all were. How do you get from A to B from that and being comfortable both spending $600,000 on a car and being okay with that, but also with the mindset of you valuing yourself when you're pitching yourself to other clients and whatnot, right?
Yeah, I think, okay, so there's like a foundational mindset belief to this whole concept, okay, which is your personality, your characteristics, and your identity are dynamic. Yeah, I think a lot of people think that how they are and who they are is static, right? You'll find a lot of certainty in consistency in a particular character you behave through as time passes. And a lot of people stay latched to that because that's what they know themselves as, and that's where they've developed confidence from, is from who they are and how they've been over a sustained period of time. I, on the other hand, I deeply believe in all of those same traits and characteristics that somebody else may latch to as like what creates confidence for them, can also do the exact opposite. It can create like very detrimental things for you if you stay latched onto certain traits for too long. As an example, when I very first moved to Miami, it was about 13 years ago at this point, I had accidentally moved into the hood, okay? Man, this is a little area called Overtown, and like, dude, it's fucking insane. They're a couple blocks down that way, and we want to go see it, okay? So I lived on, it was 535 Northwest 7th Street, and at the time, on 8th Street, there was a big old fucking Section 8 project complex with like this. You ever seen the show First 48?
No.
There's this show where they have to solve a murder in 48 hours, otherwise they claim the probability of solving it diminishes like dramatically. So the whole show's premise is solve it in 48 hours or we're fucked.
Right.
And long story short, a majority of that show is shot in Overtown. Okay, like this is a terrible fucking area. And when I didn't have enough money to like come down here and see where I was moving, it just looked like it was in downtown. It was near downtown, but not downtown. So anyway, we show up and like, we're just fucking devastated, right? It's like a little 900 square foot. No, it's $950 a month. I think it was 600 something square feet. Like it was tiny as fuck, okay? Sleeping on air beds and stuff. Some of the traits I had back then in that specific neighborhood, if I carried those same traits through today, it's like, well, I wouldn't be here today. Because those traits don't make any sense.
Start holding you back.
Exactly. So moral of the story is a lot of people fail to identify those specific characteristics and traits because they don't have that underlying belief that traits are dynamic, that identity is dynamic, that personality is dynamic. If you have that underlying trait and characteristic, you'll naturally be much more willing to detach from whatever could act as an anchor and otherwise prevent you from upping yourself in life and getting to that next level. You have to also have the trait and characteristics of assimilation. So assimilation means like if I go into a new environment, do I have the capacity to essentially adapt and integrate into that, or am I going to be dejected from it due to the wrong characteristics, right? So moral of the story is being able to have the visibility like in real time on what specific traits and characteristics and identity might be most beneficial for you in a specific situation are also an incredible trait and general underlying characteristic to maintain as you scale up and grow. I can't stress this enough though, deep self-awareness is like the ultimate characteristic above all else to even see these things in action. It's like the underlying characteristic to all of that, right? Exactly. So our capacity to have other people around us that can confidently tell us things without us getting defensive and attack oriented and say, stop telling me these things. You have to have people around you that can help you with your awareness. You yourself have to have this self-awareness and you have to be nimble enough and educated enough to know like when to switch and what to switch to. There's no such thing as a void. Typically when you drop a trait, another trait comes in place of it. You have to be very intentional about that, otherwise that can take advantage of you as well. That making sense for you?
Absolutely, yeah. Balancing working on your projects, for the inner circle and the softwares and everything, and also taking care of your clients and making sure that, your systems are down as possible, right? At least for me, I do take a lot on my shoulders as far as like client work goes to make sure everything is cool. I don't really have time to work on the ADC itself, right? How did you manage that to, make it, is it just people, is it just systems? How did it go for you?
Combination of three things. I'd say the first one is efficiency. The second two are people and systems. Efficiency meaning as you do something for a sustained period of time, you get better at it and you find faster ways to be capable of producing the same, if not better results with far less input. You have to kind of think like an engineer. You have to be able to consider how could I put the least amount of energy into something and get the most output out of it. So the concept of thinking with efficiency is very important as an underlying principle. In addition to that, challenging yourself with time constraints. There's a concept by Elon Musk, he calls it Parkinson's Law. I always tell this story through him and his rocket team when they were building the giant Falcon 9 rocket ship. He had specifically tasked his team with figuring out how long is it even gonna take to build this shit. He had mathematicians, physicists, rocket scientists, engineers, and they all just told him the same thing. They had gotten together. These are smart and capable people. They mathematically quantified it was going to take a decade to there was new materials, new systems, new technology that didn't exist they'd have to create. And they quantified, to be clear, all these smart people is going to take 10 years. Elon Musk told him in a friendly way, go fuck yourself. And he'd rather fire everybody and that it was only going to take 6 months max. Everybody argued, bickered, complained, told him to get fucked like he's arguing with math, right? Well, guess how long it ended up taking him?
6 months.
It ended up taking him 8 months, right? Which is still infinitely better than a fucking 10-year span of time comparatively. So the moral of the story here is very simple. When you challenge yourself with the time constraint, you naturally view how you'd be capable of accomplishing the outcome within that time constraint. Without a time constraint, it takes however long it takes otherwise. So as an example, I'm not one of those advertisers that sits in the ad account for 8 hours a day. I would never do that. Like I would tell myself, how can I go look at all my client accounts in under 30 minutes, actively do whatever I would need to do for them within that span of time and still get them all the outcomes I'm looking to get them, right? Instead of doing like a weekly 1 hour call with clients, like I think that's fucking ridiculous and stupid. I would never do that. In comparison, it's like, how can I talk to a client for literally 10 minutes a week or 15 minutes a week on that same type of call and be able to articulate everything and then some that would otherwise need to be talked about or mitigate it entirely? It's like just through the concept of constraint, specifically with time in this case, we work around a lot of what may otherwise act and leech our time against us. You get what I mean by that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then from there, yes, great people, like we're more than capable of hiring A players with both the amount that we need to pay for them and recruit them and retain them. But yes, systems, I mean, bro, with the education company that we have, the reason people pay us what they do is because we're so systematized, because we have so much documentation, SOPs, training material, Jeremy AI. I mean, you name it, like we have pretty much every single thing I could otherwise teach, talk about, and do documented for people to go through and more than one way of going through it in terms of a consumable.
Oh yeah, I've seen on this side the internet marketing, the master internet marketing.
Nice, man. Thank you for being with us.
Fucking insane. Yeah.
Thank you for
So too much. I gotta play more with Jeremy AI though.
Yeah, that thing fucks.
I mean, maybe the last thing. I mean, you got it all. You finished it.
I wouldn't say so.
Next?
I feel very far from the outcomes I actually want to produce, and I just consistently retain that mindset so I can maintain growth. I don't in any way, shape, or form believe I've like quote unquote made it or am even remotely
Have you ever
close.
felt that way?
I mean, to be fair, like a smaller version of me would look at where I currently am at and agree with your point, but current version of me feels much more capable than where I'm currently at. And so no, I don't like currently agree, if that makes sense.
And where do you want to be, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, okay, so when I was 24 years old, I came up with a plan and it's a rather inefficient plan initially, but to be fair, like it still mathematically works. If I invested $200K a month, which is $2.4 million a year into the S&P, and I only returned a 10% annualized return, and I did that for 20 years, so 2 decades, month in and month out, investing 200 grand, and I only got a 10% annualized return. Okay, I used the compound interest calculator on investor.gov from the SEC to quantify this, and the S&P has returned an annualized return of 10% on a little bit below that or a little bit above that, give or take. In the most recent years, since I've committed to that plan at 25 through 45, and I'm 31 as I sit here filming this with you, I'm 6 years deep on that plan. Like it's going fucking miraculously well. I would turn the 200K a month, which is about 48 million over that 20-year plan, into about $135 million. It is the most conservative possible bet to have like an actual liquid 100 million. At that point, it'd be about 135 million over that 20-year period of time. I'd be 45 years old. It'd give me the option to no longer have to work for active income. If I lived off the 4% rule, which is essentially selling 4% of those annualized gains I make, pay my 20% capital gains taxes on long-term capital gains. The net after inflation gets me about 100-ish something K a month, like after inflation erodes my buying power, after taxes are taken out. Again, wildly inefficient in terms of risk. That's like one thing I've committed to as a plan. I take much, much more risky financial bets than that.
Sure.
I want to get myself to a point where I have about, when I'm like 50, a $350 million total net worth. And I just consistently invest and take big risks until I get there. I have extremely conservative bets that are like wildly inefficient in my opinion. And then I have much larger bets, such as an example, like taking a bet on Utari and trying to get that to the point where I have a large MRR and like potentially exit from it and support it as wholeheartedly as I can in the meantime and grow it. Obviously all my bets is everything relates to my cash flow and reinvestment back into businesses just to make those larger. Stashing cash, real estate bets, random business investments, like literally just buying other people's businesses or putting chunks of cash into PE firms. I'm just taking as many random swings as I can to try to get to the point where I have a $350 million net worth by about 50. So that's my actual goal, to be clear.
That's awesome. Last but not least, do you think things would have ended up the same way if you didn't move to Miami?
You know, I think environment makes a huge difference. And when I moved to Miami, I was pretty dumb. I mean, I was 18. I had lived in Colorado so I grew up in Ohio, which is awful, okay? Shout out to everybody who escaped Ohio. Sorry if you're still there. And what is there? Yeah, fuck Ohio, dude. Congratulations. So once I left Ohio, I went to Colorado for a year and I lived in Denver. And I remember one of my buddies I grew up with, he came out there and he was like, oh, dude, like this place is slow. Like everybody tells us we talk too fast. People drive slow as fuck. Like we should move to Miami. I'd gone down there for like 3 days. I think it's awesome. I think it'd be way better for us. So he drove my car, took some Ritalin at the time, drove 36 hours straight and came to Miami, right? Moved into the hood. And I remember when I got here, It took a couple months. I sold a phone to a guy named Peter, and he made me his head of marketing because he said I was young and knew technology well and like would figure it out, right? And I was like, well, okay, dude, like sure. I got paid less doing that than I did selling phones, but it was a great opportunity to like help me leverage myself into this. So I wouldn't be where I am literally if I didn't go to Miami, because I wouldn't have had Peter and that opportunity that then would have leveraged me into everything else I've eventually become. So technically, no, at least on this timeline, it wouldn't have worked out the way that it did. I love Miami. I've been here a long time. It's been about 13 years now. And it's a city that continues to develop. It's gotten better and better. There's an infinite amount of people that moved down here during COVID, and so the talent density became a lot greater, and like a lot of great people came down here too. That was really cool to see. And more important than anything else, it's just a thriving place that seems to be an economic hub that a lot of really good and talented individuals come and choose to work from, which makes it a great place naturally for networking and the events and like people you get to meet and all that kind of stuff. It's just an awesome place. I truly love it as a city. I want to be fair in saying, like, I've lived here this entire time through my young adult life, so I'm not that familiar in comparison to other places that may have been better or may have benefited me more. Like, I truly don't know.
Right. Well, that's it.
I love it.
Got a little too personal. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you coming.
First, nice to meet you, Barry.
Thank you, man.
Pleasure to be here.
Want to introduce yourself to the people?
I'm Derek Small from Austin, Texas. I run a growth consulting business, helping small businesses scale.
Nice. What you got?
So one of the things you talk about a lot is selling to rich people. It's one of the things a handful of us have talked about. However, I think you're a great example of, one, selling to very rich people, but I think Casey is a good example of also selling to poorer people at a poor demographic. So I'm curious from your perspective. I know it comes down to preference, obviously, of who you're wanting to sell to and what it is your goal is. But I'm curious for you, what is your goal? Is your goal getting richer and reaching that financial status, or is it having an impact on a more vast amount of people?
I think it's both. I mean, to be clear, first of all, selling to rich people allows me to get richer. I don't virtue signal in any way, shape, or form. I fucking love money. Got a big neon sign on my wall that says get richer. I'm all about making a fuckload more money, and selling to rich folks, like, mathematically allows me to do that faster, okay? Two, by getting richer, selling to rich folks, I can also benefit a lot of poor people in ways that I otherwise wouldn't be capable of if I didn't have a fuckload of money to be able to do it. I can literally be philanthropic through selling to rich people and accumulating more cash to be capable to turn around and help folks. Like, as an example, we did a toy drive during December this year. I had literally right where we're sitting, I invested personally $20,000 into toys, with thousands and thousands of dollars in toys. We had another tens of thousands of dollars from random folks, just, again, more rich folks who just added to the toy pile. We took it out into the lot, turfed the lot, and we handed off a fucking stack of flyers this thick to local homeless shelters, community centers, schools, like just a ton of fucking places that we could think kids are likely probable to be at that are maybe underprivileged. We didn't have one of those toy drives where like an individual would come and get like one or two toys like most do. We had commercial sized trash bags that we gave each kid. And I could take literally as many toys as I could possibly handle. And thank goodness we did it that way. Otherwise we would have had a lot of toys left over. But we left with kids like looking like Santa Claus themselves, you know? And it was great to do. But again, like, I wouldn't be capable of doing that if I was in a position of privilege and selling to rich folks to have that network to be capable of helping me out with that, or being capable of doing it myself. I can do it faster, because again, like, my math is simple. A perfect example of this, like, if you look at my Jeremy's Inner Circle offer, let's say I have about 200-ish people in there, right? Do high couple $100,000 a month off those 200-ish people from what I charge. If in the same example we look at Utari, my agentic AI platform, I have like 1,908 people right now, because I looked at it a couple minutes ago when we were talking about it. That makes like $8,500 a month comparatively. And look how many more customers I have to serve in comparison to the concentrated amount of customers I have to serve over here. So I deeply believe in rich person math being able to help me hit my goals faster and allowing me to be more philanthropic anyway. I can't be philanthropic for shit with $8,500 a month and 1,900 customers charging $20, $50, or $200 a month. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So again, I'm not disagreeing that selling to poor people is fine. Like, I'm okay with selling to regular people. I'm okay with selling to poor people. We do it through our clients all the time. Just in my own businesses, I prefer not to do that, because again, it's a preference of all kinds of things I've said throughout this whole day, besides just these things I'm touching on here now.
Oh, that's great. And I think I would agree with you to a degree as well, because I work with bankers and real estate brokerages, but also musicians who are trying to recruit clients, or private lesson students, or club promoters trying to get people to go out to the club. And so there's this big spectrum of people.
Well, you're
out
an
there in the
agency
world.
owner?
Yes.
How long you been an agency owner?
I've been doing this for the last 3 years.
How much you make each month right now?
Right now, it varies between $15,000 to about $30,000 a month.
And so to be clear to you and very direct and not try to hit you in the chest, you just don't really have the opportunity to work with clients that are far bigger than that because you probably don't have a lot of leverage that you've accumulated over that 3 years to be capable of having the appeal to the more qualified clients that you realistically would actually want to work with. And so I would encourage you to do this. I don't know if you're attempting to justify your position purely because it's your position, or if you actually want to be in that position or not. But it's very important to note, I wouldn't attach to that type of client, because I've worked with those types of clients as well when I didn't have the opportunity to work with better clients that could pay me more money that I did actually want to work with the entire time.
Full transparency, I'm here to learn and I'm here to grow and to get in the room with other people who are doing a similar thing. So I'm taking this as a learning opportunity. And I think with that is one thing I'm finding dealing with different people at these different parts of the market is you have to talk with them very differently. If I'm dealing with the musicians and it's much more of a business to consumer market, the way I would market to them is much more like a business opportunity because there's no clear path for them versus the sophisticated business owner. They just kind of want to know what it is and make sure that it works and know that we're not going to fuck them.
Have you noticed a difference in your success rate with one or the other yet? I bet you're dramatically more successful with the sophisticated business owner than you are with the other one.
Yes, but one, because they obviously are charging more. And
it's always going to be the case.
Yeah.
You're never going to be in an instance where you work with a dude selling music classes or somebody that's more successful than the real estate broker or the investment banker in that example, just to be clear. That'll be a hard lesson you continue to learn. I'd encourage you to learn to do what's called pimping a deal. You ever heard me talk about that?
No, I have not.
So the good deals that you've got, that you've made good money for, that type of person, I'm going to give you an example on a spectrum, okay? Tell me how much you've made somebody that you've worked with. Like, give me like a shining case study for you.
Over $100,000 a month selling with Airbnb.
Okay, perfect. So a client that you could work with that you unlock is a client that's realistically making 50 to 75K a month and wants to crack 100K a month and has been stuck there, right? And that 50 to 75K a month person, you might be able to grow them to 150 or 300K a month. And as soon as you do that, let's use the example, you crack a person that gets to 200 or 300 a month. You all of a sudden unlock everybody that's at like 150 or less. You up the type of client that you work with, you up the amount of resources that they have to risk on ads. Naturally, that increases the probability of success that much more compared to the people who have next to no money to risk. And you put yourself in a position where you can pimp the deal. You take one deal to get a next deal, to get the next deal, to get the next deal, and every next deal you get subsequently becomes a deal that can be bigger because they're in a better position to start than the last deal that you got to be in a bigger position. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The faster that you iterate through that specific process, the faster you get out of this trench level set of lessons you've been learning for over 3 years of these smaller clients that have otherwise been holding you back on time and effort that's wasted on them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because you're never going to take one of these smaller deals that has next to no money and get it to a big point. That's just not how it's probable to play out.
Yep.
The people that are more probable to be successful are the ones that already have more resources to risk and are similar in traits and characteristics to people that you've already made a lot of money for. You'll naturally learn that there is a type of person and a type of business that you've had more success with than others. You want to start biasing more towards that type of person and biasing away from the others.
That brings me to my next question for you. Is what is that mental difference from the person that's, let's just say a poor person in this example versus the rich guys that you're trying to help get richer? What does that transformation look like from someone being a poor person, not coming from much, to having to mentally actually reprogram themselves so that way they can actually do the thing or do those bigger deals? I know there's years and a journey and experience that.
Well, that's the thing, like that's the most important thing you're asking right now. You want to let that person go through that process while you focus on the people who have already went through that process so you can actually get results and outcomes so you're not held back by that other person needing to learn at your expense. Does that make sense to you?
That makes a lot of
Like
sense.
right now, you've been anchored by that type of person.
It's just so much more work.
That's what I'm
because
trying to tell
it's
you,
so much
exactly.
more mental work for them versus
Yeah.
the other person. It's just the process.
So that's my point, is like you want to naturally bias towards a person that's already put in that work so you have a higher probability of success yourself. You understand?
Yeah.
And when you start to bias towards that, you'll see your revenue start to fly as a result because you're attaching yourself to balloons that are probable to go higher in the air, right? Whereas over here, you're attaching yourself to a fucking anchor that's not gonna go high at all.
Yeah.
Or one of those balloons that's got a fucking heavy sand sack on the bottom of it that ain't gonna float that high.
3K from a rev share
Right, it's
versus
like-
10K over here.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, dude, listen to this, right? It's like I could do the same exact actions But if I do it for the right type of client, I'm gonna make substantially more, like multiples more than I ever would if I did the same exact things for the wrong person. So in my world, I call that my perfect client traits.
Yeah.
I actually just did a YouTube video the other day that's dropping sooner, depending on when this drops, may have already dropped. And I go over all of my perfect client traits. I excluded 3 of them that I leave for my paid programs, but moral of the story, like I have 20 traits that I openly disclose that we like to go through and we vet for in every deal we do. Like we say no way more than we say yes, simply put.
Yeah.
When your ratio becomes more like that, instead of saying yes more often than you say no, you'll naturally find that you'll have better deals that come through. And the position you want to stay in, like, listen, I know it's scary being only at 15 to 30K a month because you're close to death. So you realistically, when a deal comes along, need to say yes anyway, because it's still financial progress for you, and that can be a big jump for you, even if it's only like a 3 to 5K deal. But again, the wrong type of person just prevents you from taking that same time and putting it into the right deal instead. That same time that you'd waste on that deal and get that little bit of revenue for could have been spent pitching the right types of deals and getting the right types of deals closed to work on the right types of deals. I will say though, the one caveat to all this is you still have to start with small deals first and get at least 1 or 2 of them bigger, so it unlocks the next level of the market for you so you can start the pimp a deal process. That makes sense?
Yeah.
All right.
So would you say it's not that it's not worth it to solve for necessarily the lower end of the market?
It's just some stupid shit you got to tolerate doing right now because you don't got the leverage to do the bigger side of the spectrum yet.
Fair enough. I guess the latter helps you get richer. And
yeah, it's like it's a part of the process. You know, it's like you got to endure through that right now because again, those are the opportunities you're getting presented. And like, I'm not gonna fucking big yicky here. Like I've been in the same boat. It's just about the speed in which you can overcome that part of the process. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Like start pride. Like it's been 3 years, dog. Like pride yourself on the speed in which you overcome that part of the game.
Is there a process you have for yourself with identifying that, or you just like make fun of yourself and turn it into anger?
Again, try as hard as you can on the deals that you've got to get them to the point where they're bigger.
Yeah.
And then in turn, you need to then go pitch slightly bigger deals than the level of deal you're pitching now.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Are you pitching people right now, or are you just sitting? Okay, yeah.
We prospect every day.
The types of people that you pitch, you need to level up the types of people that you pitch. And naturally, even if you're pitching top of market right now in the good deals, you're just not appealing to them because you don't have that type of deal to leverage yet to get into that deal. Does that make sense? Yeah. So it's like you got to try with whatever opportunities you got to get bigger.
Yeah.
But once you get bigger, it's like, again, it's just a game of taking that bigger deal and pimping it into the next bigger deal than that. Does that make sense? So every level of deal you get, you still have to play the same game. Try your absolute hardest to get them as big as you can because that's what's going to turn into your next set of big deals. You get me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
All right, cool. Got anything else?
That was it that came to mind for me. Thanks for covering this, Jamie.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
All right, cool. Well, one more?
One of mine.
All right, sick. Close it out for us, big dog. What you got?
Meet you.
Thank you, man. You too.
Adam Yoder. I have a insurance agency called XFG Miami, and my big thing is, so we're very heavy on direct response marketing, and we haven't really done a lot of content. But why would you prefer? Because you work in content and direct response. What's the justification for that? Like, why not just focus on direct response if that's what you guys are strong skilled at?
What are you selling?
Insurance,
What type of insurance?
life insurance.
Understood. Now, to be clear, you're selling on behalf of agents that are selling life insurance? Or you do a lead gen for them? Or like you are literally the agent network, like you're the broker and you're the one selling them the insurance?
So I have an agency. We also have a marketing agency that sells them inbound phone calls.
Okay, understood. So again, you're selling to the agents.
Yeah.
Okay, so
But we also have the agency ourselves where my agents are selling policies too.
understood. So on both of these examples, whether it's on behalf of an agent or for your own agency that you're talking about here, when people see you in an ad, the illusion is to think that they go straight from the ad to the page and like that's the end of their entire life cycle with you and that they just show up to a call and are probable to buy. Okay?
Right.
On the front end of a conversion, somebody's in what's called scanner mode. Okay? Scanner mode is when they're doing the most brief, energy conservation oriented research and diligence that they can, which is usually just quick judgments on things like how you look, how you talk. These are things like tonality, dress, environment, literally the things you say. Then they go to the page, right? Same exact judgments are made on the page. What's being said, environment, character, all these kinds of things are also quick judgments, okay?
Right.
They may also make these same judgments in application processes or whatever process you put them through to get onto the scheduled call, right? At this point, once they do the actual scheduling of that call, they switch from scanner mode to justification mode, okay? This is where content is most helpful in the scenario you're talking about where it fits into direct response, okay? Listen to this. After somebody's in justification mode, They will do much more research to justify the time that they're about to commit to showing up to the call. This is as an example where a few of my back-end selling systems come in. As soon as somebody books, we hit them with content straight away on our confirmation page. We'll put what we call breakout videos on our page that answer questions they actually give a fuck about, right? These would be things that, again, they literally want to know. Not things that you may guess and think they want to know, things that they legitimately give a fuck about knowing. As an example, we will help them do research on us. Like we'll make a video as one of those breakout videos that literally just says, hey, so you're probably wondering who we are, whether we're a scam, whether you can actually trust us. Like, let's literally walk through it together and do the research. Here's me sharing my screen. I'm gonna go on Google, I'm gonna go on chat, I'm gonna ask it who we are, whether we're a scam or not. Let me show you some of our reviews. We've had videos where we tell people to go into their payment processor and show their dispute rate. As an example, I have an education company. I have a 0.38% dispute rate. I've been in business since 2017 with the exact same payment processor, and it's Stripe, right? How many education companies you know that can say that? It's like most of them get fucked on, and then they have to move around to different payment processors from how cooked their dispute rates are. My refund rate is also excessively low. Okay, same thing. I will transparently show and disclose who's disputed me and why, which by the way, it's mostly from a country that starts with the letter I. When I sold low ticket stuff, there's one person who's ever disputed me for a 5K transaction. And it was a kid who moved out of his house and ran out of money and used me like a bank because he was too embarrassed to fucking call his parents and ask for money. I ended up calling his dad, and that's how I found out about that story. And the dad ended up giving us the 5K back anyway. So here's my point though. I'll make fucking videos like that, and I'll put them right on the confirmation page, all right? I do these things called value-dense email sequences. We take those same concepts, put them into emails, right? Rather than just the generic, make sure you show up shit. I have this strategy called the hammer them strategy, which is all content. It's purely content. I will spend money, a little bit of money to be clear, to retarget people with short form and long form content as soon as they do something like book or opt into a webinar or buy a low ticket thing and they're about to ascend to a high ticket thing. And I will fucking blast them with content in that damn news feed with upwards of 15 to 20 different pieces of unique content per person before they show up to the call to help influence frame, right? Because guess what? They're gonna go look us up anyway. They're gonna find these things anyway. Why not control the frame and help influence what they see about us so we can, again, just have a positive mental interpretation by that individual and increase their probability to buy. They're doing it anyway. That's the illusion, is that they're not doing it. They're gonna go look up your social platforms and try to find you. Why not have a presence there, right? If I go to somebody's YouTube page and they have like one video, not even about something they're selling me on, it's like that doesn't help, right? Creates an incongruency. Same thing on any social platform I could find that individual on. Like, I'll give you another one. I fucking hate LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is a spam hellhole. I don't even think there's a single real person on LinkedIn. I think all of LinkedIn is just bots. I think everybody leverages AI and tech on LinkedIn. I truly hate it. It is my least favorite platform ever. But if you go on LinkedIn and you look at me, I have all my content posted on LinkedIn as well. I have long form blogs, I have videos that get posted to LinkedIn, but I don't give, my personal opinion doesn't prevent me from still taking advantage of that platform. And guess what? I still get an occasional person that comes through one of our funnels that says, oh yeah, dude, I looked you up on LinkedIn, like that's where I consumed XYZ from you. And I didn't tell them, I'm like, glad that worked, you know, thanks for helping. Thanks for justifying that for me, because I fucking hate that platform and I wouldn't post shit there if I just let my opinion control it, right? So again, the point I'm attempting to make, I've seen at a scaled level of ad spend, and I mean a fucking lot of ad spend, that when I have a client or myself with organic presence on not just one platform, but all platforms, I'm converting better on my direct response comparatively to without it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's it, that's purely it. It just makes more money. I don't wanna be right, I just wanna make money. Does that make sense? Think about that. In this scenario, it also comes down to the energy conservation you may be biasing towards, okay? I'm not trying to get all ethereal on you, but listen to me here, okay? Evolution is inside of all of us. We used to have to conserve energy because we had limited calories, okay? We live in a world now of unlimited calories. You could burn as much fucking fuel as you could possibly fathom burning, and you have infinite calories available to you in a first world country to be capable of filling you up again. Does that make sense? It's like we all naturally bias towards energy conservation though, comparatively. What's that mean? That means that when it comes down to doing something as simple as making organic content, you likely won't, because you have a bias towards conserving energy when you don't think you'd otherwise need to expense it. I, on the other hand, because I've seen that scaled impact of how much organic content can influence positively a paid sales process via direct response ads, I will always encourage a client. I'll take clients at a much faster rate with a smile on my face. who make organic content when they're actively doing direct response ads, and try to help the people who don't overcome that energy conservation bias they may otherwise have. That makes sense?
Yeah. Yeah, because that's one thing. I mean, we really haven't put a lot of effort towards content, and we definitely should. I mean, on the agency side, where the agents are selling.
See what I mean? How you say you definitely should, but you just don't?
Well,
That's what I would dig into. Like,
well,
why
it's
not?
funny because I actually I paid a guy that's in your mastermind. Shout out Bryson Bowman, for his.
This is awesome.
Yeah. I joined his program for organic content for like insurance agencies, and
He's really good with organic content.
he is. He's very good, and we benefited quite a bit from it. I mean, I haven't really put as much focus towards that as I admittedly should.
Bryson, you should have charged more.
Yeah, you should have charged me more, Bryson. But that's helped a lot. But I guess so for organic versus direct response, would you just start recommending doing both right off the bat, or would you focus on one and then move on to
Listen.
the other?
When you first start posting organic content, it's gonna be so stupid to you. Like, you're gonna get like dozens of views, and you're gonna think that it's just wasted effort. But those dozens of views are the people who are actively coming through the paid advertising process that are looking you up, and those are the views.
Yeah.
It's like, it doesn't act as a discovery channel at first, and purely acts as a way to support your paid advertising sales process. So yes, I do. I absolutely do. Because at the very beginning, it will immediately be consumed by the people who are coming from the paid ads. It's the best benefit. And eventually it also becomes a discovery mechanism channel for you, and it acts as a way to get new customers that wouldn't have otherwise found you.
Yeah.
That make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool.
Watch out.
Cool.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate it.
All right, cool. Thank you, guys. Very good.